Copyright disclaimer. Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use.
Somebody's got to have some sense in this world. And a lot of white folk have demonstrated eloquently that they don't have no sense. And why should we be that way?
What it do, family and friends? Welcome back to the Church of Black Power. If you're not subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button along with the notification bell so you can be notified whenever videos like this drop. Please make sure you're hitting that like and share button so we can beat up the algorithm. Make sure we get this message out to the ears that need to hear. And if you have not done so yet, please click that link in the description. Go to change.org and put your signature on the petition for reparations. And with that being said, family, how are you all doing this fine Saturday? It's been a day. It has been a day. But we're here. We're here to talk about this myth that people's been pushing and peddling for the longest time, that Black people are 13% of the population, however, commit 50% of the crime. Before we get there, let me give a shout out to the people in the chat. I want to make sure I do that first. I don't want to forget. B1 salute and shalom to our family, Aquarius Minded. Thank you for being here, sister. Priscilla Taylor, thank you for being here, my sister. Hurricane Denise in the building. Thank you for being here, my sister. Crazy Black Star, thank you for being here, family. Reparations Nation, thank you for being here, family. Andrea Jones, thank you for being here, family. Let's see here. Gary Williams, excuse me. What's up with you, family? Thank you for being here. Let's see. FBA Queen, salute and thank you for being here, family. All right, and for all those who are not yet in the chat, thank you for being here. And for those who'll be watching this on the replay, gang, thank you, family. Now, I want to first show you guys what prompted me to do this live. Let's go here, family.
Only about 15% of all Americans commit 100% of the crime. Not many of you, hope none of you, have ever robbed a bank or carjacked a car or whatever. So 15% to 100% of the crime. If you lock up the 15%, we don't have any crime. If you lock them up and keep letting them out, thank God we have law enforcement, men and women who serve to do the job over and over again. Only about 15% of all Americans commit 100% of the...
So, family, basically what this man was just talking about, and this is the governor, oh, excuse me, not the governor. Give me 1 second. I'm forgetting this dude's name. This is Texas Lieutenant Governor, excuse me, Dan Patrick. So Dan Patrick is going around saying, 15% of the population commit 100% of the crimes. Family, that reminds me of the nonsense that most of these white supremacists run around talking about. Oh, you Black people have 13% of the crime. However, they commit more than 50% of all the crimes. Excuse me, 13% of the population, but they commit more than 50% of the crimes. And they hammer that into people's heads because they're really trying to get people to believe it. Exactly, Andrea. They're projecting. That's exactly what's happening. But they do this for a reason, because all the statistics, and I've done a live on this some years ago, but it's time to revisit it. I see. Every statistic that we have show the opposite. Even the FBI crime statistic that speaks about that they use from 2022, they don't really read into those statistics. Not only that, but those same statistics, shows that it isn't 50% of the crime. The statistic is actually talking about the amount of arrest that happens within the Black community. And that's not even 50%. The number of arrests that happens in the Black community, well, at least from that statistic in 2022, was about 28%. That's what the arrest number for Black Americans were. Now, mind you, arrest does not equal conviction. So just because a person is arrested for a crime doesn't necessarily mean that they will be convicted on that crime. And we also understand that Black America is policed more. Everything about us has been criminalized, even when it had nothing to do with criminality. And a lot of this falls back, and it comes from all the way from the releasing of the slaves. The Black codes was a whole nother situation where they were policing every movement of foundational Black Americans. They even put it in the Constitution, right, that slavery and indentured servitude is illegal except for when committed of except for when you're committed of a crime and you go to jail. So when you look at just the history, hell, the history of policing, the police comes from what? The slave catchers. So even when you look at the history of how we became over-policed, it leads you into the data that we have today on all of this, right? So let's go here, family. Let's start off with a few articles. And salute to Akibalon Nation. Thank you for your Cash App, family. Your donation is blessed tenfold, and I appreciate your contribution. Let's go here. This is a prison legal news, right? U.S. DOJ statistics on race and ethnicity of violent crime perpetrators. This is from June 1st of 2021 by Matthew Clark. In a January 2021 statistical brief, the U.S. Department of Justice Bureau of Justice Statistics addressed the issue of race and ethnicity of perpetrators of violent crimes in 2018. Based on the data compiled by the FBI Uniform Crime Reporting, the UCR program, it found that while Black Americans make up 13% of the population, they were 33% of persons arrested for non-fatal violent crimes, which include rape, robbery, aggravated assault, and other assaults. Black people were 36% of those arrests for serious non-fatal violent crimes, including rape, robbery, and aggressive assault, aggravated assault, Similarly, Hispanics make up 18% of the U.S. population, and they were 21% of those arrested for serious non-fatal violent crimes. Whites, who are 60% of the population, were 46% of persons arrested for non-fatal violent crimes, and 39% of the arrested for serious non-fatal violent crimes. The designation Black and white often did not include those who are Hispanic, and the 9% of single offenders indicated and 12% of the multiple offenders incidents, excuse me. I don't know why I say indicated, incidents, excuse me. The victims were unable to tell whether the offenders was Hispanic. The study compared the UCR statistics with those from the National Crime Victimization Survey, and we're going to get to that too. Whereas the UCR relies on reports of criminal arrests submitted by law enforcement officials to the FBI, the 2018 NCVS, was based on interviews from 151,055 people in the U.S. households. 151,055 U.S. households. Thus, the NCVS identified crimes that are not reported to law enforcement. In the 2018 NCVS, Blacks accounted for 29% of violent crimes perpetrators, and 35% of the violent crimes reported to police. By comparison, the UCR statistics show Blacks were 33% of all people arrested for violent crimes. In the NCVS, whites accounted for 52% of violent perpetrators and 48% in those reported to police. The UCR showed whites accounting for 46% of the people arrested for NVC. Hispanics made up 14% of violent crime perpetrators in the NCVS and 13% of the violent crimes reported to police, but made up 18% of the people arrested for NVC, according to the UCR statistics. The reports conclude that for whites and blacks, there was no statistical significant differences by race between offenders identified in the NCVS and persons arrested per the UCR. White and black people were arrested proportionate to their environments in SNVC overall, and proportionate, to their involvement in the SNVC reported to the police. Let me see if I can make this a little bigger. It's time for me to get glasses, I guess, getting those old dude eyes. Let me see here. At 21%, Hispanics were overrepresented amongst the persons arrested for serious non-fatal violent crimes compared to the 12% of those reported by police. However, some of this difference may be due to the victims not knowing the ethnicity of the assailants, even if they knew their race. The average numbers of assailants were 1.29 and did not vary significantly by the victim's race or ethnicity. Crimes involving multiple assailants, 43% of the assailants were black, 38% were white, and 16% were Hispanic. For single assailant crimes, 22% of the assailants were black, 59% were white, and 14% were Hispanic. So, for crimes, if it's a single person committed the crime, this here states that Black Americans represented 22%. For white Americans, represented 59%, and Hispanics represented 14%. Shalom and B1 salute to our brother Wild Williams. Thank you for being here, family. Other racial groups were tracked but lacked significant numbers for reliable statistics, except Asians, who were consistently underrepresented amongst violent offenders, with the exception of rape and sexual assault. So the Asians have been underrepresented in crime stats. Interesting. For those crimes, Asians were 5% of the assailants, about the same as their 5 to 7% representation in the U.S. population. And that's wild. Nobody brings that up. Oh, Asians are 5% of the population, and they commit 5% of all crime. All right, so that's the first article I wanted to get to, family, because I wanted to immediately kill this narrative of us committing 50% of all crime. That's nonsense. Shalom and salute to Lemonade. Thank you for being here, family. That's complete, utter nonsense. There's no way that 13% of a population can commit more than 50% of crime. And that's what we're going to show here today. MD Williams, salute to you, family. Thank you for being here. I want to go here. And trust me, family, I'm going to back all this up. I want to go here. Black people, 7.5 times more likely to be wrongfully convicted of murder than whites. Risk even greater if victim was white. Because, you know, all these people love to throw out that statistic, 13%. But over 50% of the crime, commit 50% of the crime, and nobody ever states that, you know, Black Americans make up 53 to 56% of all acquittals from the 1980s all the way to 2015. Nobody ever brings that up. But we're going to bring it up here today. So let's get into it. Black people are about 7.5 times more likely to be wrongfully convicted of murder in the U.S. than whites, and about 80% more likely to be innocent than other convicted of murder. So we are 80% more likely to be innocent of the charge of murder out of any other group. Out of any other group, we're 80% more likely to be convicted than them. Wrongfully. Let's see here. According to new reports by the National Registry of Exonerations, the already disproportionate risk of wrongful convictions, the registry found, was even worse if the murder victims in the case was white. So, if the victim in the case is white, 9 times out of the 10, you are going to be convicted of murder if you're a Black man or a Black woman. Whether you did it or not, you're going to be convicted at an 80% rate. The report, Race and Wrongful Convictions in the United States 2022, this is from the same year that these folks love to go and get that FBI crime statistic. That was from 2022 as well. This is from the exact same year. Okay? The report, Race and Wrongful Convictions in the United States in 2022, reviewed the cases of 3,200 innocent defendants exonerated in the United States since 1989. Black people, the researchers found, were 7 times more likely to be wrongfully convicted, were more likely to be targets of police misconduct, and more likely to be in prison longer before being exonerated. Let's continue. Black people were overrepresented in every category, of the 1,167 wrong constituted, 56%, 74 to 134 of all death sentenced exonerees, 55%, 294 out of 535 of wrongfully murder convictions resulting in life imprisonment, and 54%, 270 out of 497 of wrongfully murder convictions in which exonerees were sentenced to imprisonment for terms of years. And when they say terms of years, what they're talking about is the large number, football numbers, 25 years, 35 years, 50 years, 132 years. We're the only ones that's giving those wild ass numbers. You ain't never seen any Nabisco go into a courtroom. You've never seen a judge say, okay, it's conviction day. I convince you, Nabisco man, to 233 years consecutively. You've never seen that. You've only seen those type of football numbers tossed at Black Americans. Let's be very clear about that. Yeah, exactly. We're overcharged all the time. Overcharged and sentenced all the time. Innocent Black people are about 7.5 times more likely to be convicted of murder than innocent white people. The registry reported. That figure, the report noted, applies equally to those who are sentenced to death and those who are not. So we're sentenced to death a lot more than white folks who commit these crimes as well, is what this article is saying. The number applies equally to those who are sentenced to death and those who are not. The report really shows the depth of the belief that race is a proxy for criminality in the criminal legal system. Innocent Project Executive Director Christina Swarm says, the registry reviews of murder. Let me do this. Yeah, that's much better. That's much, much better. The registry's review of murder exonerations data found that innocent Black defendants were also more likely to be more harshly punished than innocent white defendants. Among murder exonerees who were not sentenced to death or life imprisonment, Black defendants were sentenced to an average prison term of 35 years. An average. Salute to Casey Salone. Thank you, Casey Malone. Salute and shalom to you, family. Thank you for being here. White murderers, exonerees who were not sentenced to death or life imprisonment, were sentenced to an average term of 28 years in prison versus an average of 35 years when it comes to Black Americans. They want to talk about white supremacy. You want to talk about what do they call it? They're saying we have black privilege. This showing me right here all the white privilege running through the system in which these folks belong to. Because it is a system that's doing this. The report also found a pattern of harsh sentencing for murder convictions and with white victims, and lighter sentences for those with black victims. So people who are convicted of murder, when they have a black victim, they get less time. When they have a white victim, they receive more time. That's very interesting. Salute to AO. Thank you for being here, family. This pattern, the registry found, is not restricted to death sentences. If they avoid the death penalty, innocent murder defendants in white victim cases are also more likely to be sentenced to life in prison than they're charged with killing black victims. So if you're black and you kill another black man and you don't get the death penalty, you're less likely to get life in prison. But if you kill a Nabisco, you're more likely to get a life sentence. Black people wrongfully convicted of murder also spent the longer in prison before being exonerated than their white counterparts. Oh, so they're going to spend time in prison regardless, way more time in prison than their white counterparts before they get exonerated. The studies have shown. Interesting. Let me see. Of the 75 innocent death row defendants who spent 30 years or longer in prison before being exonerated, 67% are black. The racial pattern is similar for all murder exonerees, regardless of sentence, the report notes. Of the 181 exonerees who spent 25 years or longer in prison before release, 68% are black. Among the 10 who were lost, 40 or more years to prison. 68% are black among the 10 who lost 40 or more years in prison. It's 80%. Official misconduct was rampant in wrongful murder convictions. And here too, black defendants disproportionately bore the brunt. So in every area that they're looking into, we overly, disproportionately are bearing the brunt of every freaking thing that they're mentioning. The report found that official misconduct is considerably higher among murder exonerations, with black defendants than those with white defendants. 78%, 500 out of 638, compared to 64%, 236 out of 369. The overall rate of misconduct was higher in capital cases, 78%, as opposed to 73% in non-capital murder convictions. Here too, there were significant racial disparities. 85%, 63 out of 74 of black exonerees who were sentenced to death were victims of official misconduct, compared to 70%, 32 out of 46 of white death row exonerees, the research found. The report contained a sobering warning about cases in which innocents have remained undetected or, if brought to the court's attention, has been left uncorrected. Most innocent defendants who are convicted of crimes are not exonerated, the registry reported. Judging from the rate of false convictions amongst death sentences, several thousand defendants have been falsely convicted of murder in America in the past 40 years. More than half of them were Black. Exactly, Miss Nisi. We're policed for existing. We're imprisoned for existing. So it's no surprise when you look at the FBI numbers, and the FBI numbers are stating that, Black people are 50% of all the arrests. That's because of the fact that we're policed more just for breathing. Just for breathing. And everything that we do is criminalized. And then when we go to court for these things, we're railroaded to the point where there's still people being unalived by the federal government, by the state government, due to the fact that their innocence isn't being brought to the forefront, even when the courts have the information to prove that innocence. So a lot of these folks who are talking this 13% to 50% nonsense, they're not bringing up any of that. They're not bringing up any of that. Hell, let's go here, family. And we ain't got to read this because this article is basically saying the same thing that the last article is saying. I just wanted to bring this up too because this is from the America Bar Association, the ABA, which clearly states it. And it's saying the same thing. Black defendants make up more than 50% of exoneration since 1989, new report says. And like I said, we don't have to go back through this because basically it is literally rehashing everything we just read in this report here. When we talk about these things, it's not like we're saying this stuff because we're trying to make an excuse for us being policed the way that we're policed. Yeah, you're absolutely right. The ABA is a criminal organization as well in my eyes. It only exists to keep Black people from becoming lawyers. That's the whole reason why the Bar Association was created. And just like a lot of things, school tuition was created to keep Black folks out of school. Healthcare used to be free. That became a thing because they didn't want Black people getting proper healthcare. So yes, I feel you. But when we're talking about these things, when we're bringing up these situations, it's not like we're just saying these things because we're trying to mask the real problems. These people know what the real problems are because the Department of Justice keep on coming out telling people what the real problems are. Now, they're not doing nothing about the problem, but they're at least saying what the problems are. Let's go here. DOJ startling Baltimore report proves it. We need more data on cops. Let's get into it. And this is just Baltimore, ladies and gentlemen. If this is happening in Baltimore, just imagine how this is happening all across these United States. Exactly, Miss Nisi. It's the translucent. They're the translucent, they're the ones who've been the problem since day one. You're absolutely correct. In the Department of Justice new release report about discrimination within the Baltimore Police Department, every data point is more damning than the next. Of the 410 people who were stopped by police, at least 10 times over a 5.5-year period, 95% were Black. Out of the 410 people who were stopped by police, at least 10 times over a 5.5-year period, 95% were Black. Of all vehicle stops that occurred during that time, 82% of them involved Black drivers. Though just 60% of the driving age population in Baltimore is Black. So how does that happen? How do you have 60% of the driving age in the population being Black, but 82% of them being pulled over are also Black? That must go to show that you have a targeted people in which you're pulling over. Look at that. I was a legal assistant at the DA's office, and I would always get pulled over on my way to work. And did you guys see the video of the Black judge who got pulled over and a police officer broke her tail light? And then when he was saying he didn't believe she was a judge, he was like, "Why are you dressed like that?" And she said, "Surprise, judge." He says, "I'm not a judge, I'm an officer." She says, "No, I'm a judge." And he was like, "Yeah, I don't believe that." She said, "You don't have to believe it. You think I'm dressed like this for my health?" And then after which, he was writing her a ticket. After he found out that she was a judge, he then said, "I'm just going to let you go with a warning. You got to get that tail light fixed because it's going to get you pulled over more." So yeah, they absolutely target us. Yeah, they started apologizing like a mug. Let's get back over here. While research shows people of all races use drugs at roughly the same rate in Baltimore, Black citizens were arrested for drug possession at 5 times the rate of others. You know what? I don't know what happened at the end of that as of yet. I haven't seen an update yet, but when I find an update, then I'll bring it to you guys, because I hope to God this dude gets fired. I hope. Okay. And Black citizens were more likely to be charged for low-level offenses. They made up 91% of people charged solely with a failure to obey. Failure to obey. 91% of people charged solely with failure to obey. Get the hell out of here. White folks fail to obey all day long. All damn day. They will curse out the cop. They will pull guns on a cop. They will do everything but obey a cop. But the people who make up the most of arrests due to failure to obey is us. 89% of the people charged with making false statements to an officer. Ain't that something? All these white women who call the police on black people, none of them get false police charges, filing a false police report. They don't get charged for that. It's apparently us. And 84% of people arrested for disorderly conduct. But these people can go riot over pumpkins. These people can go riot because their favorite football team lost the game. They can go riot because their favorite football team won a game. These violations have deeply eroded the mutual trust between BPD and the community it serves. Not just BPD, all the PD across all the communities of foundational Black Americans. Trust that the essential to effective policing as well as officers' public safety, said Vanita Gupta, Deputy Assistant U.S. Attorney General, during a press conference in Baltimore today. Here. The 163-page report is the result of an investigation that began in May of 2015 following the death of Freddie Gray, a Baltimore man who died from spinal injuries while in police custody. His death sparked protests about racial injustice throughout Baltimore and the United States. The investigation looked at the police activity between 2010 and 2015 and unearthed rampant misconduct and bias within the police department. While there have been heated debates about the circumstances of Gray's death, what debate is there? They unalived him. And the death of so many other Black men and women at the hands of police, the Justice Department was unambiguous in condemning a culture of undue force and discrimination within the Baltimore Police Department. And there's one reason for that. Now, they have the numbers to prove it. They had the numbers before, but they didn't care. There are so many startling civil rights violations listed in the Justice Department's reports, from a line about one man who was stopped 30 times in less than 4 hours without ever being arrested, to the revelation that some police supervisors ordered their officers to specifically target Black people for stops. Most of these are cultural problems stemming from the era of so-called zero tolerance policing that began in Baltimore in the late 90s. And yet, these stories can easily be explained away as doctrinal. Why the hell am I? Let me get some water, family. Excuse me. Okay, excuse me. Okay, most of these could be explained away as anecdotal without the hard data to prove it. That's what makes it so startling that the Department of Justice found an utter lack of comprehensive data within the Baltimore Police Department, which could help identify bad actors and patterns. The data would include such basic statistics as who is arrested, who is pulled over, for what, how often, and when and why police use force. The agency failed to provide officers with significant policy guidance and training to collect and analyze data for officers' activities and hold officers accountable for misconduct, Guata said. It's not the fact that they don't have the data. They have the data. They don't care. A lot of this data goes unreported because they don't want it reported. That's just what it is. Fill in the data gap. Surprisingly, excuse me, I just got finished eating before I jumped on, family, so I am still a little gassy. Give me a little grace, family. Surprising at this gap may be in 2016, when data draws everything from our businesses to our policies. It is a pervasive problem throughout the country's police departments. So they're admitting here that this is the same issue that many other police departments are going around doing. They're not turning in their numbers because they know what they're doing at these police departments. They know what they're pushing at these police departments. This summer, hold on, let me make sure I didn't miss that. Country's police departments. A problem the White House is very much trying to fix. This summer, the Obama administration launched the Data-Driven Justice Initiative, which did nothing because we still ain't getting the damn data, which aims to use data to reduce the country's prison population. How's that working out? And last year, it launched the Police Data Initiative, which encourages police departments to use data to cut down on their use of force. Meanwhile, some Black Lives Matter activists have begun taking these data findings, missions, into their own hands. The group Campaign Zero, started by DeRay McKinson, Janetta Elzie, Brittany Packnick, and Samuel Sinyangwi, has compiled its own reports that shows police use of force and the implementation of body cameras in all 50 states. It's incredibly important, McKinson, who ran for mayor of Baltimore this year, says. The framing for Campaign Zero is that there should be no public servant that operates above the law. But hasn't, to add the data collection means little if to doesn't directly impact police accountability. The police were operating with very little oversight and accountability that allows the type of abuses to exist and to fester, he says. Other Justice Department reports, is tech important? Yes. But I think the technology pales in comparison of the importance when I think about the deep lack of accountability and oversight the police department has. And when we're talking about accountability, we're not talking about firing them or laying them off for a period of time only for them to turn around and get hired at another police department 2 cities over, to get hired at another department a state over. If you're fired from a police department, there should be a national database that says why you've been fired and to make sure you can never be rehired. But that's not what we have. During her address today, during her address at today's press conference, Mayor Stephanie Rawlins Blake said that transparency would be key to rebuilding the trust between police and the community. Excuse me. And of course, data will be key to that transparency. She also noted that some changes are already underway in the city, including new training and data management systems. I hate when they say new training. They're always trained the same, even though they say new training. Everything is still absolutely the same after they so-called sensitivity training, after their so-called rejuvenation training, whatever the situation may have you. Everything they still move the exact same way. Their transparency training and all of that. That makes absolutely no sense. I just have to say that, sorry. Though she provided no details in what those new systems would do. It will also take funding, according to the mayor. The city estimates spending between $5 million to $10 million to revamp its police system that's really never revamped. So you can spend $5 to $10 million to basically not train your police force, because that's what it is. We have been standing still while this inquiry was underway, she said. Indeed, some of these reforms began before. This report is only the first step in healing Baltimore's wounds. Now, the Justice Department and the city will work together to solicit response from the public and agree on changing Baltimore's police department must make, which it will outline in what's known as a consent decree, which is court enforceable. Everything is court enforceable, including the law. Why not, when they break the law, just enforce the law as it stands, but enforce it on them? I don't understand that. For McKesson, this is an important step in addressing the inherent injustices, that he and Baltimore residents are all too familiar with. But valuable as this investigation has been, he says, this investigation should only be used on the heels of a tragedy. Okay. One more thing, family. Then we're going to get into some of the juicy. The New Yorker came out in 2018 with this article. The Justice Department knows that as many as 250,000 hate crimes take place every year. It prosecutes only a few dozen. And we're not going to read it all, but we're going to read the parts that matter here. As last week's horrors were happening, 11 people murdered in the Pittsburgh synagogue for being Jewish. 2 people murdered in Kentucky supermarket for being black. More than a dozen current and former government officials receiving pipe bombs in the mail for being Democrats and antagonistic of Donald Trump. Researchers at the Benin Center for Justice a think tank and advocacy group associated with New York University Law School, were finishing work on a paper about what they call the federal government's problematic response and non-response to domestic terrorism and hate crimes. The paper, which was published on Wednesday, is worth reading for the issue it raises about the government's current approach to violence and criminal crime committed by white supremacists and far-right groups. Excuse me. Let me reread that. The paper, which was published on Wednesday, is worth reading for the issue that it raised about the government current approach to violence and hate crimes committed by white supremacist groups, far-right groups, and other extremists. For one thing, the paper argues, as others have previously, the government isn't properly addressing the problem because it vastly underestimates the size of it. In a typical year, the Justice Department charged a few dozen people with hate crimes, and local and state law enforcement agencies deal with a few thousand of their own cases. But the Justice Department itself, through its research arm, the Bureau of Justice Statistics, which conducts surveys of crime victims, have found reason to believe that about 250,000 hate crimes were committed in the United States every year between 2004 and 2015. 250,000 hate crimes per year from 2004 to 2015. Salute the Drew. Thank you for your Cashapp, family. I appreciate your donation, and your contribution is blessed tenfold. Keep spitting that knowledge. I appreciate you, family. Not every incident in the victim survey would be attributed to white wing violence, and not all of them involve cases of physical violence. But even discounting those cases, not knowing how many hate crimes are happening in the country each year helps to mute the political debate about this violence, which affects the attentions and resources these cases receive in the justice system. So basically what's being said is these crimes are not being investigated because of the fact they're not looking at them as serious crimes, even though they're hate crimes. So they're not being investigated and they're not being reported. Salute to Brandon Dumas. Thank you for being here, family. There's an argument in law enforcement and policy circulation about whether the federal government needs new domestic terrorism laws to effectively respond to violence committed by far-right extremists and white supremacists. New tools in the toolbox, as some may put it. The Benin Center Research, it's usually Research Center. The Benin Center researchers, Michael German and Sarah Robinson, reject that argument. Laws are already in place that could be used to prosecute domestic terrorists, they say. Don't that sound like Roland Martin? You fools don't need no black hate crime bill. There's already hate crime bills on the books. Sound just like Roly Poly Martin, Rolanda, to be more specific. Laws are already on the place. Nope, excuse me. Get back here. Oh, let me just reread it. Laws are already in place that could be used to prosecute domestic terrorists, they say. But the Justice Department simply chooses not to prioritize these cases as a matter of policy and practice. After 9/11, the FBI made counterterrorism its top priority. But the available evidence suggests that in uses only a fraction of its counterterrorism resources to address threats deemed domestic. And yet, despite this the resource gap, in the past decade, the government has, according to German and Robinson, filed more than twice as many domestic terrorism cases as international ones. Meanwhile, civil rights violations such as hate crimes rank severely steps down. I don't know why it says severely. Rank several steps down on the FBI list of priorities, failing to regard deadly far-right violence as terrorism when both violent and non-violent crimes perpetuated by Muslims are routinely treated as such. Reduced the relative import of far-right violence in the Justice Department bureaucracy. The Bernine Center reports says the discrepancy also sends a public message that the security of minority communities is not at the top priority. This week, the Justice Department announced the launch of a new hate crimes website and an $840,000 grant to study the collections of hate crime data. I hate when they put money up and say, we're going to study an issue that they've already studied meticulously. It makes no sense. Salute to Makiba Anderson. Thank you for being here, family. It makes absolutely no sense for you guys to take millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars to say, we're going to study an issue that's already been studied. It's the same thing with reparations. It's a stalling tactic. German and Robinson thought German and Robinson, though, wants Congress to step in to standardize what data are collected and to ensure that what is collected is significantly detailed. If we want to do something to compel the federal government to take this kind of violence more seriously, we're going to have to do something different. German, a former FBI agent who infiltrated far-right extremist groups as an undercover agent, told me, the first thing we need to do is have better data about these crimes. I think the first thing you need to do is, I said we weren't going to read the whole thing. I guess we did. I think the first thing they need to do is actually make examples of people. Make real examples of people. Damn all the bull stuff, okay? Go out there and make examples of these white supremacist groups. Because that's what y'all would do if it was us. Let's be very clear on that. Now, family, let's get into some of now that we got through the articles. Y'all remember when we found out that they have all these different white supremacist dog groups within the police departments? Some not even white folk, some not even Nabiscos, some like the Proud Boys, led by Hispanics. This is the same thing with Tyree Nichols and their police dog group, the Scorpion unit that they had. Well, I want to remind you in case you didn't. Let's go here.
This new deputy gang emerging from the Palmdale station is a deputy gang called the New School. They have a logo and a sticker that they circulate to deputies who are trying to make inroads with this deputy gang and are trying to join this deputy gang. My sources say that this deputy gang is in complete control of the Palmdale station, that everyone there, most people there to some extent, know about this deputy gang, and that going along with this deputy gang's agenda is necessary in order to move up in the department, as well as to get any assignment that a deputy wants to get.
And we did hear the sheriff respond to these allegations. Here's what he had to say.
I believe that we're making significant progress. I believe a lot of work still needs to be done. I believe this is a different department today than it was 2.5 years ago.
This new deputy gang emerging from the Palmdale station is a...
So family, we're not under any misconceptions when we're bringing up the crime statistics, when we're bringing up how the system actually works when it comes to us. We're not under any misconceptions. All the data is on our side. And I've said this before, in order to be a white supremacist, you have to be stupid. You got to be stupid. Especially the lower level white supremacists. You got to be stupid. Salute me and Kim. Thank you for being here, family. Because all the data is out here. And all the data is working against every little narrative that they try to put out about us. So when you see your Charlie Kirks, when you see your Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick's, or anybody else running around here spitting these false statistics, we already know that they're full of stuff. So full of it that it's coming out of their eyes, their pores, their ears, their nose, their mouth, and every other orifice that they have on their body. Every other orifice that they have on their body. So it's no wonder that we have our brothers and sisters coming out, calling that nonsense out for what the hell it actually is. Let's go here, family.
So now you want to talk statistics. Now you want to pull the pie charts, the bar graphs, and crime rates like they aren't cooked in your kitchen, stirred with your spoon, and served on your terms. Let me ask you something. How convenient is it to claim that Black people commit the most crimes when you're the one who designed the crime scene? Now I get it. You were raised on a steady diet of cops and robbers where the Black man was always the villain and then the white man had the badge and was always the hero. You were actually spoon-fed on propaganda through school books, news feeds, and Netflix narrative. So let me walk you like a dog on this very slowly. I'm not here to shame your ignorance. I'm here to expose the system that trained it. Isn't it funny how people who own the prison get to define the prisoner and make money off of it? Isn't it ironic that the group who created police force out of slave patrols now want to pretend that the bad has no bias? Isn't it interesting that you make the rules, write the laws, control the media, and fund the judges, yet we're the ones who are labeled lawless? But you know, I'm always going to come with those receipts and historical and legal and cultural records. First, the origin of policing. The first formal police force in the U.S. was in 1704 Charleston, where slave patrols ran this thing. Their legal job? To hunt down enslaved Africans, beat them, and return them to property status. Even after abolition, the Black Code and vagrancy laws criminalized Black freedom. Stand on the corner too long, and guess what? You just might get arrested. No job? Oh, we arresting you. Looking at a white man in the eyes too long? Oh, we gonna arrest you for that too. And what about the 13th Amendment, Luke? If you haven't seen the Netflix documentary, Go check that one out because it states neither slavery nor involuntary servanthood, except as punishment for crime, shall exist. Translation for those who get stuck on stupid: slavery was never abolished. It was rebranded. And see, here comes the convicted leasing, where black men were arrested for petty, often bogus charges leased to corporations like the U.S., still to work in conditions worse than slavery. Yeah, and what about that crack versus cocaine thing, sentences? Yeah, did you know in 1986 Anti-Drug Abuse Act, 5 grams of crack equals same sentence as 500 grams of powdered cocaine, which is the higher purity? Who used crack? Black neighborhoods. Who used powder? White suburbs. And who got the time? Well, you already know that. I don't even have to spell that out for you. And what about the war on drugs, aka the war on black communities? Yeah, we know that. The whole thing in elementary school to keep a kid off drugs. Oh, well, we know CIA involvement in funneling crack cocaine into South Central LA. We know about that. The police were directed to over-police black neighborhoods while ignoring the white suburbia. And now, let's not talk about marijuana, how it's legal now, and you white entrepreneurs are making billions. Meanwhile, brothers who sold dime bags in 2002 still in prison and sitting in prison today. And what about this legal immunity for white criminality? Brock Turner, 3 months in jail for sexual assault. Ethan Couch, affluenza teen, no jail after killing 4 people. That math don't seem to be mathing. Meanwhile, black teen supposedly steals a backpack in Rikers Island. He's there for 3 years and no conviction. The math ain't mathing, Cletus. What's your excuse? But let's talk about this psychological warfare. Let's talk about how America actually scripted its racism, not just into law, but into entertainment. Yeah. You remember The Birth of Nations, 1915, a silent film that glorified the KKK as heroes and depicted black men as rapists and beasts chasing this innocent white woman? The villain, a fictional black predator. The saviors, of course, white robe terrorists. It was screened at the White House under President Woodrow Wilson, who called it history's written with lightning. The film didn't just entertain you, it revived the Klan, justified lynchings, and rewrote the psychology of racism with moving pictures. Let's see, what about those other cultural crimes? What about the minstrel shows, 1800s through the 1900s, where white men in blackface portrayed black people as lazy, although we built this country with free labor, foolish and subhuman? The original branding campaign of dehumanization. What about Amos and Andy in 1951? The stereotypical portrayal of a black incompetence aired across America like Comedy Hour for white supremacists. And what about Mandingo in 1975? Black men reduced to sexual monsters and gladiators, fetished, feared, and never human. And what about the Song of the South in 1946 Disney? Slavery reimagined as happy sing-along plantation propaganda for the whole family to view. All right, I guess you have amnesia and forgot that. And what about today? News headlines turn black victims into suspects and white terrorists into loners with a hard life. And let me be very clear, just in case you aren't getting it, you don't just own the courtroom, you own the camera. And when you write the script, you control the sympathy. You criminalize us in the courtroom and then re-imprison us in Hollywood. And let me tell y'all this. Y'all framed, falsely imprisoned, and you forgot about us. Oh, and before you get too cozy, quoting crime statistics, let's not forget the thousands of black men sitting in prison right now for crimes they didn't even commit. Let's talk about police who've been caught planting drugs, planting weapons, and fabricating witness testimonies and statements. Corrupt prosecutors who buried evidence, even when it meant a man lost decades of his life. Y'all didn't care about that right then, did you? No, you let it happen. And judges who looked the other way because closing a case mattered more than finding the truth. What about the Innocent Project? Reports that over 60% of DNA exonerations in the U.S. are Black men. Make that make sense, Cletus. And yet, your beloved government, your sacred system, has passed laws in many states to block access to DNA testing after convention. Now, let that sink in for you. They would rather leave an innocent man to rot than to admit the system is wrong and broke.
Family, I ain't seen a lie detected yet. Have y'all? This sister is going the hell off. Partially why I let it play for so long. I'm going to let her get back to it. But I just wanted to get some consistency from the family. Do y'all hear any lies told? I haven't heard a lie told thus far. Salute to Sharon Thompson. Thank you for being here, my sister. Appreciate you.
So tell me again, who's the real criminal? The man sitting in the cell or the one who put him there in the first place knowing he didn't do it? But here's the irony. Here's the hypocrisy. You claim that we're more violent, yet the most genocidal people in history built colonial empires on blood. You say we're the criminals, yet Wall Street was built by stolen Black labor and still robs working people legally. You blame Black on Black crime, but never talk about white on white war, which led to 2 world wars and millions dead. You act like statistics aren't skewed, but you wrote the test. You gave no pencils and still said we failed. But I'm not going to stop there. I want to reframe this identity from victim to victor. See, let's be clear. We're not criminals. No, we aren't. We are survivors of century-long psychological, economical, and legal assault. And our communities have been under siege, not because we're broken, but because we're powerful, because we reflect the image of the Most High, baby. And that terrifies you more than any statistic could ever do. And I already know your comment, but I didn't own the slaves. Maybe not. But the system you benefit from did and still does. And if you stay silent while it continues, you're not innocent, you're compliant, baby. Oh, and I hear you. You claim you just quoting facts. No, you're quoting filtered data, curated by the same system that put the boots on our neck and then ask why we can't breathe. So next time you throw around crime statistics like it's confetti, ask yourself this. If you own the courtroom, write the laws, train the cops, and fund the prisons, who's really guilty? You don't get to build a box, place us inside it, and then act surprised when we fight to get out. We're not the criminals. We are the case file. We are the evidence. We are the testimony of the survival. And trust this, baby, truth is on record.
Family. I had to do it 3 times, man, just to show solidification. Much love to that sister, because like everything she was saying is everything we just read through. Everything we just read through is exactly what she just said, and she broke it down with her sass, and her ass was nice with it. Not to mention her butt. I didn't mean to mention her butt, but she did it so elegantly. She was so 10 toes down with it. I couldn't help but to add that video into this broadcast because I appreciate how she broke that down. Now, family, even when we're talking about Black on Black crime, I question that too. And the reason why is because, in case you haven't noticed, let me pull this down for a second. In case you haven't noticed, there's a lot more information coming out that is showing, like, okay, let me rephrase this. Let me put it like this. When I was growing up in California, right? I'm from Watt, so a lot of people know that there's gang banging and all this other stuff. Even during times of peace, you would have people roll up, masked to the T, with the red rag, shooting up the neighborhood and all you see is a hand out the window with a red rag shooting up the neighborhood. So what this did, it was cause a lot of tension, and they would do it on both sides. And when I say they, we came to find out that the police was dressing up as gangbangers, going to different hoods and letting off in the hood in order to make those gang members believe that the Crips were doing it or the Bloods were doing it, which started more tension, more wars, right? So I always hold that with me because it's never what you really think it is when they are bringing it to your attention in the manner that they do. We just recently, and a lot recently, we've seen a lot more information hit the mainstream about not only do they have ways to dress and act as if they're black, but they got high quality mask. Oh yeah, that's my hood right there, the JDs all day. They got high quality masks and high quality arm, like all this stuff that you can wear to make them look like a black person. I want to go here. This former CIA agent has now admitted that they have things that are higher quality. Derek suits, exactly. More higher quality than anything we could have imagined. Let's go here, family.
Speaking of blockbuster movie franchises, if you haven't heard, we are celebrating Mission Impossible Week here on CBS Mornings. Plus, ahead of Friday's release of Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning. And all of those heart-pounding scenes of drama, the spy action over the years, it might have you wondering, how much of that mask-wearing, self-destructing instruction stuff hanging from the airplane wings, how much of that goes down in real life? The CBS News Confirmed team brought us a guest who can answer all of our burning spy questions. She may have to kill us. Let's welcome Jonah Mendez, who may have had the world's best job title ever, CIA Chief of Disguise. Jonah, welcome. I hope I'm saying your name right, or is that also a disguise? Maybe I'm deepening the undercover here. Do I have it right?
You know, it's actually Jonah. I was my father, I think, was hoping for a boy, so he just threw an A on the end.
I love that.
I love it, Jonah. My apologies. It's really great to have you here. Because of your background.
Just a quick caveat. This has nothing to do with the topic at hand, but I just have a question. What's up with these white fathers who always hoping for a boy, and when they get a girl, they decide to give her either the boy name that they already had, or they make a variation of the boy name that they wanted to give the boy? I've been seeing that a lot lately, and a lot of white women saying, well, my dad really wanted a boy, and that's why my name is John Tolley, or whatever the hell the name is. It's just very interesting to me. But I digress. Let's get back.
Background and your knowledge, when you're watching a movie like Mission Impossible, does it seem on some level silly to you?
Some of it seems silly. Some of it is just plain old fun.
So, Jonna, you know, Mission Impossible is known for, especially when Tom Cruise takes off that mask. Is there any kind of technology that achieves that in the real world of intelligence?
Well, the movies have a lot of options that real life does not offer to you. But the idea of a mask that you could quickly put on, quickly take off, was very real, and something that we used with some discretion, but we used it when we needed it and got great results.
Did I read that you had a mask that made you look like an African-American man? Is that right?
That was probably the first one that I took public. That means within the CIA. I briefed some directors and told them we had this capability. We were looking to be able to change your gender and your ethnicity, and even perhaps create a twin if we needed that.
Family, will somebody please let me know what would be the purpose for having these kinds of masks? Because she did mention, she said, you know, to put it on and take it off whenever it's needed. At what point in time would you need a carbon copy of somebody? To me, in my eyes, now y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, but in my eyes, exactly, to frame black people. Why would you need a whole, now it's one thing to go undercover. It's one thing to go undercover. If you're going undercover, you don't need to be black. All they got to do is change who you look like. But it's very telling that the first mask, and she said it herself, the first mask that they did was a black man. My question would be, why did you need a black man? If you was going undercover, why didn't you just get a black agent? You have black agents in the CIA. I'm confused. So there could be only one reason that you would need these kind of things.
Hold on. So in your estimation, how lifelike realistic are the masks? If you were in the room with this person wearing the mask, would you notice that it's a mask?
You would not notice unless you told a really hysterical joke and the person couldn't laugh hysterically. It had limits. It could smile, couldn't laugh hysterically.
I know.
I wore those masks in a couple of pretty tight situations, and no one knew until I announced it.
Jonna, is
this woman says she's out here wearing masks like it's Mission Impossible, and nobody knew nothing. No one knew nothing. Now, that has to be a damn good mask. Because the mask that we knew about from a few years ago, matter of fact, let's go here. Y'all remember this?
White man, black bank robber, same person? A Florida man has pleaded guilty to committing a string of robberies with the help of an elaborate disguise. At least 6 banks were robbed of a total of $15,000 in the Ohio area earlier this year. 5 of the banks were robbed on a single day in April. Witnesses said the suspect was a black man, and surveillance video backed up the reports. Until police officers got a tip. Officers searched an Ohio hotel and found an exploded dye pack from one of the banks inside a vehicle. They arrested 30-year-old Conrad Zederek, a white man who clearly does not resemble the black man witnesses had seen. During the robberies, he wore a high-quality mask to cover his skin, using the hood of his sweatshirt to cover his hair. He had a whole new identity. Investigators say it was the best disguise they've ever seen. Zederek, who is not a U.S. citizen, faces up to 35 years in prison and deportation at the end of his prison term. Diane Kepley, The Associated Press.
So, family, as y'all saw,
at least 6 banks.
Let's go here. That one looks like a mask. That one, if I was to see somebody walk into a store with that on, I would be like, oh, that's definitely a mask. Get that shit off. Take that off. What's wrong with you? I might take it as an insult, might have to kick his ass, because I'm gonna be honest with you. For what reason would you have on this damn mask? Obviously, you're trying to trip us up. But also, the woman says they have upgraded the mask, because now you wouldn't be able to say you wouldn't be able to tell if it's a mask or not unless you had to laugh hysterically. His mask, you could tell his mouth doesn't even open. And some of the other masks that I've seen made, when you open the mouth, you can tell by the person's inside of their lips whether they're black or not. But what she's saying is, we got better masks than that.
Is it right that you wore that in front of George H.W. Bush, and could he tell?
I did wear it. Brent Scowcroft was in the room, Bob Gates, John Sununu, Judge Webster. No one Judge Webster knew because he was head of the CIA at the time. No one else had any idea until I took it off.
No idea. I had no idea.
So you did it just to show them that this was possible. Is that right?
Absolutely. I wanted the president. I wanted the president to see that we had taken disguise to a really dramatically new level.
Did you take one home as a souvenir? Are you in that? Is that you? Are you in there? Is that you in the mask?
This is just me. In the image, yeah, that's me.
What?
Taken off my head.
What?
And John Sununu had not been listening. He'd been working on his own notes, so he just glanced up.
I don't like the way this black woman is all giddy at this information. Like, for anybody, that would be troubling information to hear if you're a black person and a white woman is sitting here telling you this nonsense. This black woman is just giddy as hell. Salute to John's son. Thank you for your comment, family, and thank you for being here. I absolutely agree. Throughout time, they reveal yesterday's tech today and today's tech tomorrow. Also, B1 salute to LaShawn Kent. Thank you for being here, family. And cult-like personality, thank you for being here, family.
When I did that, and he let out this funny little noise, like not a shriek, somewhere between a shriek and a squeak.
So full disclosure, on our call about today's show yesterday, I had to do kid pickup at the same time. I missed this briefing, and nothing has prepared me for what we're talking about right now. And this is really quite mind-blowing.
So I read that the mask had to be something you could put on in 10 seconds or take off, and you didn't need a mirror as well.
Wow.
You could put it on in a parking garage without a mirror.
So Donna, did you take one home as a souvenir? And why are you sharing this publicly now? Isn't this secret information?
It has been declassified. I don't know anymore what that means. It may mean that they're using something else instead of what we're showing.
Family, she absolutely knows what that means. She absolutely knows what it means. You know how I know she knows what it means? Because once an agent, you're always an agent. You're always an asset of the American government. My uncle was in the Air Force, and when he retired, they still call him to this day. Till this day, you are never done with the American government if you work for the American government. So I know for a fact she still has clearance, and I know for a fact she knows what that means. It may have been her new job, her new assignment in order to go on the news to bring this information out so that people would think that, okay, well, this was in the past. This is nothing that they're doing now. Rather than asking the question, well, if this is the past that you're speaking about, what kind of technology do you have today? Like our brother John said, they introduced yesterday's tech today and tomorrow's tech and today's tech tomorrow. And that's how that works. Exactly. She could have a mask on right now for all we know. For all we know.
I didn't take one home. There was only one when I left the CIA, and I saw it some years later. Someone brought it up from the archives.
Now, family, what did she just say? Did she just say, matter of fact, I'm going to play it back. And if you know where the discrepancy is, please leave it in the chat. Please leave it in the chat. Let's see who gets it first.
CIA, and I saw it some years later, seeing something else instead of what we're showing. I didn't take one home. There was only one when I left the CIA, and I saw it some years later. Someone brought it up from the archives, and it's turned green, so it's not usable. It's also not meant to last long.
Did anybody catch that? I'll give it a few more seconds before I tell you exactly what's happening. Yeah, she's lying. But where's the lie? Where's the specific lie that I'm trying to point out? We'll find out in Big Mama's 3. Family, She said that it was only one when she left the CIA. There we go. She said it was only one. But earlier in the interview, she said their first one was black. She said their first one. So if you have a first, then that means there must be a second at the very bare minimum. So the fact that she's saying, oh, well, there was only one when I left and someone brought it to me and now it's green and it wasn't meant to be used for a long time, you can deduce that this woman is not only lying, but she is being ordered to lie because she is an asset. That's what assets do. That's exactly what assets do. So I can guarantee you it wasn't only one. Salute to Mia Kim. Thank you for your Cashapp family. Your donation is blessed tenfold. I truly appreciate your contribution. You can just tell that she's lying, but she just blatantly, if you didn't hear anything she said and just looked at her, you would say, oh, she's lying. Her mouth is moving. She's lying. But the lie that she told, that tells me that since you are an asset of the CIA, you were told to tell us that lie. Because maybe this had people asking questions, had people calling out the fact that white people are dressing up like black folk and committing crimes. So it makes sense that this woman would come out here and try to change the narrative up. But she contradicted herself within the interview and put herself on Front Street. But let's continue.
Can you say what the material? Can you say what the material was?
Probably not. They'll come and get me.
Okay, all right. Just one more question before we let you go. The exploding messages or the tapes that self-destruct, any truth in that?
She refused to tell them what the mask is made of. So guess what, family? We know it's not made of silicone. She refused to tell them what the mask is made of, which means it is not silicone. So inquiring minds want to know, what exactly are those masks made of?
I don't know that we've tried that. I don't think that we've needed to try that. There are many ways to convey a message. The exploding machine is only one. And I think we have not, maybe we haven't mastered that yet. I don't know.
There we go. Jonna Mendez, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Really interesting stuff.
Before we continue this mission.
Okay, family. So as I was stating, and the reason why I went into this video, this segment here, is that even when I hear black on black crimes, I don't even take it as serious as most people are trying to make it seem. Because I know that this technology is out there. I know what they used to do when I was in Watts. I know what I seen with my own damn eyes. And this was me as a kid. So imagine being a kid, seeing this happen, and then finding out that it wasn't actual gang members, it was police in your damn city doing this. I would never trust the police department again or any narrative that they put out, which I don't. The statistics on black crimes, how do we know that those are black on black crimes? Just because it happens in Chicago doesn't mean the people in Chicago were the ones doing it, especially with the influx of these illegal immigrants. Let's be very clear about that. But if you want to talk about crime, we can talk about some crime. Now that we got all the numbers out of the way, we didn't got the statistics out of the way. Give me 1 second, family. Let me close some of this down here. Now that we have the numbers out of the way, we can talk about some crime since y'all want to talk about crime. You know, we don't ever have a problem talking about the crime in communities. Well, let's go with this crime first.
An upstate pastor and his wife have been arrested and face several charges for abuse allegations involving children. That is according to Greenville County deputies.
Rashad Williams has the latest on this investigation. Rashad.
Deputies say 73-year-old Myron Shorbajian and his wife, 70-year-old Kathleen, were arrested on fugitive from justice warrants earlier this month in Nashville. Shorbajian is facing more than 20 charges. He is the pastor at Greenville Southern Methodist Church on Fork Shoals Road. That's according to the church Facebook page.
This is a pastor, ladies and gentlemen, and salute to FBA Queen. Much love to you, my sister, for becoming a Patreon member. I appreciate you, and your contribution is blessed tenfold. Family, this is a pastor. So when we run around talk about don't let nobody pray over you, they ain't praying to the same gods, this should be something that you're looking dead at. Salute, AB. Thank you for being here, family. This should be a situation that you bring up anytime someone who's white want to pray for you. Nah, have you seen those the white preacher and his wife that was abusing children? Nah, I don't need none of that prayer. I don't need you praying over me whatsoever, family.
Myron's wife faces 16 charges in connection with the case. Deputies say an investigation was initiated after a victim contacted law enforcement back in April. We're told the abuse reportedly began back in the 1980s. The pair is currently behind bars in the Greenville County Detention Center.
And the abuse occurred starting in the 1980s. Family, it is 2025. It is 2025. This has been going on for decades. It is 2025, 40 plus years. But they want to talk about criminality in the Black community. Very interesting. Very interesting. Y'all remember this one?
A wealthy California mom is accused of masterminding a shoplifting gang.
This is a multi-million-dollar criminal scheme. It was complex. It was orchestrated.
Michelle Mack recruited 12 women to steal millions of dollars worth of makeup. The group operated across the country and would mail the loot back to Mack's $3 million California home.
The crimes occurred from the West Coast to the East Coast in this country.
Michelle would reportedly give the girls lists of what she wanted and pay their airfares, hotel bills, and car rental costs.
These individuals today are the fencing operations. These are the ones that are putting out the orders to the boosters.
Then she would sell the items for knockdown prices on Amazon.
The online marketplaces, they profit from the sale of stolen goods. And last time I checked, none of them were raising their hand to say, here, retailer, you can have it back.
A wealthy
Even when you're arresting Black and brown folk, I don't want to even put brown folk in it, but they're, in this case specifically, it was Black and brown people who she was recruiting. You look at the person who's leading the charge, and it's Nabisco. Nabisco. Shout out Mia Kim for this comment as well. I love this comment because this is one of the things that I try to hammer into people's head all the time. I don't trust these demons around our children. It never turns out well for the children. And that's the thing that our parents used to do to protect us. Our parents wouldn't just let us go around any old body's family. Our parents wouldn't let us just go spend the night at any old body's house. It was more due to the protecting aspect of being a parent. They wanted to protect us. And now that I'm an adult, I can't do nothing but give glory to my parents for that. That's just what it is. If I spent the night at a white friend's house, it wasn't until I was over 18 years old. And that's just the truth. But as a child, I don't believe in leaving our children with anybody outside of us. I just don't. And even then, I got to really, really look into your background and know who the hell you are. I got to really trust you to leave my children with you. If you are a Black home care provider or a child care provider, I would have had to been watching your business for some time. I would have to know someone who also allows you to watch their children for some time before I trust that you can be left with my child, before I trust that you are responsible enough to take care of children. That's just that. Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you, Casey, 100%. A lot of my friends say the same damn thing. A lot of us didn't spend a night at no white person's house until after we were 18 years old. And that was just out of, I don't want to say out of spite, but just because we were adults and we could make our own decisions at that point in time. And we thought we wanted to give these people opportunity, you know. But to be honest with you, yeah, growing up, asking to go to my white friend's house to spend the night, it wasn't happening. Hell, to be honest, it rarely happened with even my Black friends. That's just what it is. It was about protecting the children. But even when it's our criminality that is being talked about, I question who's the people behind it. Yeah, thank God for moms. Thank God for pops. Because honestly, especially my grandpa, because my grandpa wasn't having that shit. My grandpa, if you was to ask my grandpa if you could go spend a night at some white person's house, my grandpa would look at you like you stupid. And then he'll be like, why? Oh, because he's my friend. We want to play video games. This, that, the third. Would tell your friend he could come spend the night over here. Y'all could play video games in the den. Real stuff. He was not having that stuff. He's like, nah. If it's okay with their parents, they can come spend the night over here, but you ain't going nowhere. I need to know where you at, especially because usually when I'm with my grandpa at his house and stuff like that, at my grandma's house and stuff like that, it's because, you know, my grandpa would come and pick me and my brother up from my mother's house and take us to the air because we lived in LA. So, you know, the houses and the horses and stuff like that, that stuff was in Lake Elsinore, Paris, California, in those areas, right? So my grandfather's responsible for us because he took us from our mom's house and brought us out there. So my grandpa wasn't having none of that. Not at all. If y'all want to have a party, y'all throw it in the backyard. I don't care. Y'all not going to those people's houses. Like, he was very strict about that. And I'm grateful because as an adult now, I myself feel the exact same way my grandfather felt, you know, and especially because it's like, I'm not giving over my responsibility. I took responsibility for you when I picked you up from your mother's house. I'm not giving my responsibility away to a bunch of people I don't trust to be responsible. So with that, I give all that glory to them. I give all that glory to them. Exactly. So he could watch us. He wasn't playing that. He wasn't playing that. And yes, Sharon, my grandfather he's an old school Black man from Sweetport, Louisiana. My grandfather keep a deuce on his hip, and he wears cowboy boots everywhere he goes. Have beautiful cowboy boots to match everything in his closet. And I mean, he got now later gators, he got suede, he got all kind of cowboy boots to match whatever he pulls out of the closet, whether it is a casual beach outfit or whether it is a suit to go to church. He stays clean with a deuce on his hip. And he has no reservations into pulling that off his hip. I'm just being very clear about that. I love my grandfather so damn much. But family, let's show some more of this criminality. Do you guys remember? I don't remember this guy's last name. His name is Matthew something. He unalived a sister by the name of Sade Robinson right after they went on a date. Let's go here, family.
A stunning development in Milwaukee's first state murder trial.
Yeah, as lawyers sparred over evidence discovered inside a safe in the apartment of a Milwaukee woman killed and dismembered on a first date.
Tonight, we're also getting our first look at the moment Sade Robinson left her home, never to return again.
The state also showed jurors police body camera video of Robinson's car found burned in an alley. This video shows the charred front and inside of the Honda Civic near 31st and Lisbon on Milwaukee's northwest side. Investigators say Maxwell Anderson killed Robinson, dismembered her, discarding her body parts all over the city, then set her car on fire to try and hide the crime.
Maxwell Anderson is being charged with homicide, arson, mutilation, and hiding a corpse in Sade Robinson's death. Prosecutors say Anderson killed Robinson after the two went on a first date April 1st of 2024. Hikers found her severed leg in Cudahy's Warnemont Park the very next day. 15 witnesses took the stand on day 3 of this trial, including Robinson's friends and coworkers.
Total News' Hannah Hilliard is live at the courthouse following this full day of testimony.
And today, Hannah, we got to look inside Robinson's apartment.
Right, Deanna. Robinson's studio apartment on the Lower East Side of
no, Aquarius, he has not been convicted yet. They just started trial on this. That's what this clip here is about.
Milwaukee. Detectives here today describing her space as a pretty typical college student apartment.
I'm gonna be honest with you, Sharon. I don't know why. This is a beautiful sister right here. She is a beautiful sister. I don't even know why he was in her league at all. And that's another thing that I don't get about anybody who's a swirler. If you're a swirler, that's your business. Okay, fine. All right, that's none of my business. How are you so damn fine, though, getting with the ugliest dude you can find, getting with the ugliest woman you can find, but yet you want to talk bad about your own people? Not saying she did, but I'm just like, it just doesn't make sense to me. It just doesn't. And a lot of the things that, let's say, black men and black women, the divestors say that they won't accept from black men and black women, they'll accept the bare minimum, the less than that from the white people. Yeah, I believe it has to do with self-esteem issues too, but there is some internalized hatred for yourself in that too. There has to be some sort of internalized hatred within yourself to just go out with this type of creep. He looks like a damn Neanderthal. Exactly. That's what he looks. He looks like fresh off the cuffs, out the Caucasus, knuckle dragging, beating women over the head with sticks, putting them over his shoulder. I tell you, sisters, I'm not against going out and testing the waters, I guess you can say. If you want to date that person, date that person. I myself personally, I will not. I will not. I was young, dumb, and full of cum at one point in my life as well. And at this point in my life, and I've told this to several of my brothers, several of my friends, because I got some friends who dips with them. I tell them straight off the back, Carolyn Bryant. That's all I needed to know. That's it. And she died old and guilty. And one of my brothers, Mo, he says it like this. He was like, yeah, bro. He was like, that was a long time ago. Okay. Kobe Bryant. Well, he didn't go to jail for nothing. Okay. Jonathan Majors. I can go on and on and on and on. And I'll give you another example, but I'm saving it for one of the examples here. I will be showing it. So no, you do what's good for you, and I'm going to stay over here minding my FBA business. But I will let you know, my brother, that's not a good idea. It's just not. Because of things like this. Being a boomer, I've never have I ever been remotely attracted to a white boy. Hell no. Besides the obvious lack of particular anatomy. I feel you, Miss Niecy, 100-fold. I feel you. I myself, I'm not gonna lie, I've partaken in some whiteness. Unfortunately, I'm not gonna lie about that. Mostly they've been Italians because I've always been a butt man. However, even in those situations, I just had to walk away from them. That's just what it was. Like, there is no, and before I even started looking at the Carolyn Bryant situation as something to where, okay, if this could happen to our brother Emmett, it could happen to you. And the same thing can happen to the white girl. She could die, happy and guilty. Before that became a thing for me, it was a situation to where I just didn't want to explain what it's like to be black in America to somebody else. That just became a situation that I got tired of. Me explaining how the police is targeting black Americans. Me explaining how I deal with white supremacy and racism every single day of my life, whether they know it or not. Italian, they might have been Sicilian. They just had white skin, so Italian. They said they were Italian. I just take them for what they were. The word was, but that's why I really walked away from it. I got tired of trying to explain these situations to these people, and then when I was reminded of Carolyn Bryant, because like I said, I learned about Emmett Till very young, which made me really look at white folks very cautious wise. That's why I only had one white friend growing up. But that was only because of the fact that, I was taken out of the city and taken to the damn country where the damn horses was, and made friends with the neighbor's kid, and several of the neighbor's kids. And we all used to go out with the horses and stuff like that. But yeah, I just got tired of that, to be honest with you. But now it's more of, no, it's these folks weaponize everything about them. They can weaponize about everything about you and turn it on you that damn quick. So I'm 100% interested in this case, and I can't wait to see where it goes. Let's continue on this.
But there were some items discovered in a safe during a search warrant that the state tried to keep from the jury here today.
I appreciate you, FBA Queen. I appreciate that a lot. I'm be honest with you. I'm happy I got out too. And when I say got out, especially after seeing the movie Get Out when it first dropped, I was like, oh, geez. I'm glad that I don't do this. I'm glad that I walked away from that a while ago, because god dang it. Yeah. You start putting those things together, two and two together, especially with the organ harvesting, people disappearing. Y'all seen the story about that brother who was dating the white girl, and the parents wanted her to bring him to the house to get him a job, and then they were going to take him to the cabin, if you know what I mean, after a while. Yeah. So I'm 100% glad that the Most High saw fit to keep his hands on me and to make sure that I wasn't going to fall into the foolishness. Salute to who's that just came in. I just saw you, family. Leonard D. Yuda, thank you for being here, family. Shalom to you, family. Yeah, the horror films type crap. And this is what this queen right here, this sister right here went through. That is some straight horror movie type crap. The same Jeffrey Dahmer type crap.
The jury, for the first time, seeing Sade Robinson's home inside and out.
You've reviewed all of this footage, and her car never returns to that lot? That is correct.
Including security footage. The state says proves Robinson left her apartment in a black jacket, white top, and jeans on April 1st, 2024, in her blue Honda Civic, and never returned home. Inside her apartment,
it actually just reminded me of a college student's apartment. So it was a little messy, but you know, to be expected for someone who's younger.
The jury saw images of Robinson's kitchen, packed closet, bathroom, and toothbrush investigators used to collect DNA.
There was no force of anything of like a break-in or anything like happening.
Did it appear that any struggle had occurred inside?
No.
During a break with the jury out of the room, a dispute over evidence.
The state would be objecting to that coming into evidence.
Prosecutor Ian Vance Curzan wanting to omit the discovery of drugs inside Robinson's home, found in a safe. Those items include marijuana and pills of meth. The state questioning its importance to this case.
As an offer of proof, there were no drugs found in her system, those specific substances. So I don't know how it's relevant.
The defense wanting to point to any suspect other than Anderson.
Just
notice how they're trying to say that they found, I think it was meth in her house. Does this sister look like she's on meth at all? Does she look like she takes meth at all? Because meth heads have a very distinct goddamn look. Or maybe she was on meth. And that's why she got with this meth out dude. I don't think so, though. She does not look like somebody, even in the videotape. Even in the videotape, she didn't look like she was methed out. Meth leaves you skinny, dried up, scabies all over your body. It's a lot. Meth does a lot to you. So, yeah, I think it was just one of those situations where the police probably did something that can be considered trying to drop it on her.
Just like I think the state plans to go through everything that's found in Max's home, even if I don't like it. So I plan to go into it.
How do you find it relevant other than just what was merely located?
There is a tie between drugs and violence.
The judge ultimately siding with the defense. The jury back in the courtroom learning of the drug discovery.
What does meth mean?
Meth?
Yeah.
I just use the short term for methamphetamines.
But that's a street drug, right?
Correct.
And then 18 grams of THC, obviously marijuana is not able to be purchased lawfully either.
Correct.
Investigators eventually finding Robinson.
Look at that beautiful sister right there. You telling me she was doing meth? If it was in her house, I don't think she was doing meth. She probably was slanging it. And that's probably why the man lost his ish. It probably wasn't a date, if you know what I mean. But I know for damn sure this woman ain't doing meth. That ain't happening.
Body parts across Milwaukee. Her blue Civic burned with her black jacket, jeans, and underwear in the trunk.
A lot of details today unfolding in court, Hannah. Sade's family in the courtroom for it all, and they're now reacting to the drug discovery tonight.
All right, Deanna. So Robinson's family attorney says that these drugs, which were never lab tested, have no connection to this murder trial whatsoever. She goes on to say in a statement, quote, her mother and father are physically and emotionally suffering right now, so the focus must remain on the real issue at hand. Who murdered Sade Robinson and how was she murdered? Who burned her car? Who committed arson and why did they commit arson? Now, that arson was actually the focus of this afternoon's witness testimony from the prosecution.
Family, you're absolutely correct here. It does make people ugly. And trust me, I lived in Banning, California at a time in my life. And that is a population meth head central. You get what I'm saying? So yes, I 100% agree with you. But also I agree that he might have known somebody in the department. He might have known somebody in the department because even when the toxicology report came back, she didn't have any drugs in her system at all. She didn't have any marijuana in her system or meth in her system, and they found both of those things at her apartment. So yeah, she might have been planted. They might have planted that stuff on her in her persons. But let's also move here.
A Burke County deadly shooting suspect will not be facing charges. This is coming from District Attorney Jared Williams about Hannah Cobb. He says a grand jury returned a no bill. She was arrested after her boyfriend, Telvin Osborne, was shot and killed. DA Williams says the grand jury decided not to pursue formal charges back in April. The Burke County Sheriff's Office says they heard about possible riot threats over that decision on Friday night, and they were ready to protect the community from that.
I wasn't sure what I wanted to do.
Excuse me, family. So now let me pull this down for a second. In case y'all don't know who they were talking about. Hold on 1 second. Salute to Starte Jones. Thank you for being here, family. I appreciate you for being here. In case y'all don't know who they're talking about. They're talking about this woman here who unalived her boyfriend, who was talking real greasy about black people, black women, black. She will face no charges for shooting this man. Hey. And they say there was a backlash. I didn't see a backlash. I see more folk going through it and getting on his people, because his people was out there talking about, yeah, man, he rather slept with a dog than to sleep with y'all women. And he was right to say that. Hey. But now, this little Nabisco, she faces no charges in his unaliving. And that's another great point to talk about. While you're talking about crime statistics, you can't even say crime statistics without bringing up all the crime that goes unprosecuted. All the people who do not get prosecuted when they commit a crime. Here's a prime example. I don't know if he looked like Booker T. I think he looked more like his brother, Ray. What is it, Ray? What is it? Is it Ray? Or I'm forgetting his brother's name, but he looks more like his brother than Booker T to me. Damn, I'm mad that I can't remember his brother's name, because they were the Harlem Heat was my jam. I loved them both. Stevie Ray, thank you, Casey. That's who he looked like. This man looked like Stevie Ray to me. Yes. Oh, Steph. Okay. Yeah, but Stevie Ray Jr. here, he won't see any justice because, you know, the system of white supremacy. That's what that is. So when we're talking about crime, you can't talk about crime without talking about the fact that y'all barely even get prosecuted for the crimes you guys commit. Mia Cole. You are cold for that one. But guess what? You ain't tell no lie. Cold as ice, but you ain't no liar. I just got to throw that out there. Oh, that's good. That is good. But family, let's go here, because we all know about the Rodney Hinton situation. We all know about the Rodney Hinton situation and how they piled up in a courtroom because he unalived, in his time of grief, he unalived an officer. Well, if you want to talk about criminality has nothing to do with grief. Criminality happens a lot when you are upset. Criminality happens a lot when you're broke, you're poor. And apparently, criminality happens a lot when you're a part of the dominant society. Let's go here, family.
Central Ohio mourns the loss of a Morrow County deputy. This is a picture of 31-year-old Daniel Shear. He was shot and killed while responding to a domestic violence call. Deputy Shear was a 4-year veteran of the Morrow County Sheriff's Office, and this was his first job in law enforcement. Good evening. I'm Mike McCarthy.
And I'm Jessica Ralston. We have live team coverage tonight. Tom Bosco is taking a closer look at how Deputy Shearer is being remembered. Kirsten Lindquist shows us what neighbors say they saw and why they are in disbelief. But first, court records revealing in vivid detail the violent, volatile situation that Deputy Shearer found himself in. Shots had already been fired before he arrived on the scene.
Today, we learned bullets struck a neighboring home and a nearby truck as well. Investigators say Deputy Shearer then encountered armed suspect Brian Wilson. Tonight, he is charged with aggravated murder, and we are learning what led to a shootout.
Salute, Jeremy. Thank you for your cash app. Your donation is blessed tenfold, and I appreciate your contribution, family. Now, listen to this, family, because there's some parts that they ended up, because this is a compilation of all of their reporting on this topic since it happened. However, they omitted some information that I'm going to get to after we play this clip. So let's go.
The deadly confrontation happened at the porch of a Marengo home. It's where court records reveal Morrow County Deputy Daniel Shear's body camera recorded him first interacting with armed suspect Brian Wilson after 7:30 last night. This is Wilson's picture from a 2009 arrest. Records show a neighbor warned the deputy Wilson had already fired shots Monday night and said, quote, "If I was going to die tonight, I'd be okay with it." Records also reveal details of a conversation between Wilson and the deputy, with Wilson saying, quote, "Don't come up here," and, quote, "I'm not in the expletive mood." When the deputy tried to de-escalate the situation by talking with Wilson, Wilson said, quote, "I will expletive kill you." Then going on to say, quote, "I'm not expletive playing. You better just expletive go if you want your family to see you tomorrow."
Family, do you hear the way this Nabisco is talking to the Popo? I'm not expletive playing. You better just expletive go if you want your family to see you tomorrow. I'm be honest with you. The funniest part for me is the expletive. But listen how this man is talking to this dude.
The deputy tried to de-escalate the situation by talking with Wilson. Wilson said, quote, "I will expletive kill you." Then going on to say, quote, "I'm not expletive playing. You better just expletive go if you want your family to see you tomorrow," and continuing to tell the deputy to leave. Then court records show Wilson approached the steps near the deputy's location and a shootout occurred. Overnight, investigators searched the yard with a metal detector and cut into a wall, tracking down shell casings and more. The court records now detail at least 2 bursts of gunfire happened, with a definitive pause between them, and the deputy's body camera recorded the sounds of multiple clicks, consistent with a trigger being pulled, but a gun striking a fired cartridge or an empty chamber. Investigators found 2 guns believed to be fired by Wilson, a semi-automatic pistol and a revolver.
Family, this man was out here dual yielding those pistols like it was a Call of Duty match. And he emptied them till the clip was done. But I would like to know. Are they going to show up 50 cops deep to his arraignment like they did with Rodney Hinton? I'm just asking the question. If it was all about solidarity, like they said it was, you would see the same reaction that you saw when Rodney Hinton ran over a cop during his moment of grief and his lack of sanity. But I mean, if you really want to show solidarity, I would assume that you would show up the same way you showed up for Rodney Hinton, right? 50 police officers standing behind them, another 15, 20 sitting inside of the waiting area where the audience sits ongoers. More police officers in the audience than actual family and audience members. I just doubt that would be the case. Because you guys are clowns. You're cowards. And with Rodney, you wanted to intimidate him. But just like when y'all get in the shootouts with these Nabiscos on the average, y'all don't treat those people that you get in the shootouts with the same way y'all treated Rodney. Why? Because Rodney is more terrifying to you than the white supremacists in your own damn communities. A man who either seek justice or had a lapse of the mind and got justice, he's more dangerous to you than somebody who's telling you he will unalive you to your face if you don't leave.
Tonight, the Morrow County Sheriff is remembering Deputy Scheer as a, quote, great guy.
And someone who always had a smile on his face. Tom Bosco is live at the Morrow County Sheriff's Office tonight.
Now, we're only going to get into this part of the segment because I want you guys to hear what the sheriff was saying, because like I said, they omitted a portion of these segments.
With the legacy he leaves behind, a truly tough day out there, Tom.
Yeah, a tough and emotional day, Mike and Jessica. You know, we've seen neighbors come by. You can check out this cruiser here behind us. They've come by dropping off flowers and mementos here on this cruiser. The emotion raw and real this morning as the sheriff had to tell us that one of his deputies was killed in the line of duty.
I don't even know what to say.
Sheriff John Hinton's voice broke a number of times during a news conference as he had to reveal to the public the name of the deputy shot and killed Monday night. 31-year-old Daniel Scheer, shot and killed responding to a domestic violence call. He was trying to de-escalate the situation with a man who appeared to be ready to die. Here's what we know about Deputy Daniel Scheer. He leaves behind his mother and father, who live nearby. He was serving in his first law enforcement job. The sheriff says he hired Scheer in 2021, 4 years ago, and that the deputy was positive and upbeat.
According to the footage, according to the news, the footage shows that he was fired upon until the clip ran out. It never said whether or not the officer returned fire. I doubt that he did, because the two pistols that was found on the scene neither one of them belonged to the officer. And both of them were emptied. So I don't think he returned fire at all.
Always had a smile on his face, never in a bad mood. He came to work every day. He loved this community. He loved the job.
Fellow deputies marked cruisers with black tape across the sheriff's star in honor of Scheer. That, as emotional neighbors began dropping off flowers.
Sorry. Just honoring the life of the deputy.
Did you know him personally?
No.
Philip Stan.
This man is crying over a man he didn't know. So I'm just, I'm just crying because he was a deputy. Did you know him personally? No. Man up, get your ass out of the way. I done pushed him out of my way. Like, man, get your ass out of my way. What the hell is wrong with you? I'm hollering too. Just the way this man, I'm gonna play that again.
Sorry. Just honoring the life of the deputy.
Did you know him personally?
No.
Philip Stanley was here, tying ribbons to the cruiser. Stanley's son works at the Morrow County Sheriff's Office and says Shearer was highly thought of.
You know,
yes, he was actually a rookie. He had just been hired in 2001, according to the article that I read.
he talked about, you know, how that the deputy was a good guy. You know, he's like, you know, we always talked to him, and he was like, you know, he's one of my favorite deputies. He said, you know, he just was a great guy. Was always good to be around, and was always.
Now, this is the first time that a sheriff's deputy has died in the line of duty for this county here, and only the second time a law enforcement officer has died in Morrow County while doing his duties. That last time was in 1940. Shearer's body right now is at the Montgomery County Coroner's Office in Dayton. At this point, we don't know of any plans for a procession from Dayton to Central Ohio or any funeral arrangements. Live on your side in Mount Gilead, I'm Tom Bosco, ABC 6 News.
Tom, thank you very much. The shooting also devastated what is normally a very quiet neighborhood.
Tonight, so many are in shock, saying they cannot believe this happened on their street. Kirsten Lindquist is live there tonight, and Kirsten, neighbors say they never saw this coming.
No, it's been a hard day for these neighbors, Jessica and Mike. And in fact, there's a lot of car traffic that keeps coming down this street. In fact, there was so much car traffic and police activity from last night into this morning. Neighbors tell me their kids couldn't even go to school. Now, they're also telling me that Brian Wilson, the gunman, never caused any problems before Monday night.
Nobody deserved that, you know, and especially for the officer and his family. It's just hard.
Neighbors left in shock as a case of domestic violence leaves a Morrow County deputy dead.
And the wife was over here the whole time.
Kimberly tells.
Oh, Aquarius minding. You noticed, did you? Yeah. That's what was omitted. Very much so. This is a second clip here. Now, I want to show you after this video is over why we asked this question, why this question is even posed. Because if it was anybody else, they would just be telling you, right? They would tell you who the suspect is. They would tell you exactly how old he was if he was black. But let this continue. You jumped ahead of me, girl. I see you. See? That's how smart we are in goddamn New Black Media. Before we could even get to the part, y'all already asking the right questions.
Me she knew Deputy Daniel Scherer and the suspected shooter Brian Wilson. She said behavior like this was uncharacteristic of Brian. Kimberly says gunfire isn't uncommon to hear in this neighborhood, but it's never been cause for concern.
Kids are target practicing, so we hear it all the time. We did not expect to hear or see what had happened.
Another neighbor took us inside her home. A stray bullet hole from across the street, now through her front window.
I still got glass down here I got to clean up.
That ricocheted off her fireplace and into her living room wall.
Just thankful we weren't here because we could have got shot.
And another bullet in her garage siding.
I think they tried to take the bullet out last night.
A tight-knit community where everyone knows each other.
Sad to hear something like this happen.
Now trying to pick up the pieces after tragedy hits their own backyard.
When you know somebody, but then you don't know the other side of them, it's rough.
Salute, William. Eric, thank you for being here, family. They would have had his whole family's life history already if he was black. School, work, family, religion, etc. Exactly, family. Thank you for being here. You're absolutely correct. They would have put all that on TV. It all been broadcast already. All of it. Matter of fact, they may have pulled up his grandmother's lineage history and everything like that. Like, they would have been meticulous if the assailant was black. But let's continue.
Wilson was last said to be at Grant Medical Center in serious condition. The Delaware County Sheriff's Office is leading this investigation. And if you or someone you know is involved in a domestic violence situation, you are not alone, and help is available 24/7 for free. Dial 8788 at 8788. Dial start or begin to receive that domestic violence hotline help. For now, in Morrow County, live on your side, Kirsten Lindquist, ABC 6 News.
We are learning more about the suspect's past. According to court records, he has a criminal history that dates back 30 years in Marion County. In September of 1994, he was charged with assault. In August of 97, he was charged in a case of domestic violence. In June of 2000.
Now, family, it took 3 segments for them to even start talking about the suspect. It took 3 segments for them to start talking about the suspect.
2003, a disorderly conduct charge. He was convicted in each of those cases. Now, this is his mugshot from February 2009 when he was charged again with domestic violence. He pleaded guilty to a lesser charge in that case.
Tonight, tributes for the fallen deputy are being shared from all across the state.
It's also serving as a reminder the dangers every police officer faces every day to protect and serve. Here's Terry Sullivan.
As you can imagine, reaction is pouring in from all over the state, even the governor's office. Everyone offering condolences to Deputy Sheriff's family and his law enforcement family as well.
Wait a second. Where's the outcry? Where's all the people that was out there talking stuff on Rodney Hinton and saying he needs the death penalty and everything else? Where are those people? I ain't heard nobody bring this up yet. And for context, this happened 4 days ago. 4 days ago. I ain't heard not one of them white supremacists or the white supremacist adjacent come out and mention this. Exactly. Where's the outrage? Just want to know. Another great question. How is it a tight-knit community, but they didn't have no idea that there was a thug in their midst? That's a great question. A very great question. With an arrest record as long as I am tall. What are you, 6'4", 6'5", my brother? Yeah. His arrest record is a lot longer than that. Pause. It's a lot taller than that, stacks up. Yeah, accountability is a kryptonite. Absolutely. You won't see any outrage because it'd be too close to holding them accountable. You're absolutely correct, family. How did he get weapons? He's a white man. He's a white man. I mean, how does any white man get weapons? He walks into any store and says, "Oh, hello. I would like a 9mm gun. Oh, yeah, and please make sure there's a switch and an extendo clip on it." Because, those things are only illegal for us. Yeah, as to even with convicted felon on his record, he was able to walk on in there. Don't get that confused. Don't let them confuse you by making you think that because you're a convicted felon, you can't walk into a store and purchase a gun if you have the complexion for the protection. Hell, you saw how Kyle Rittenhouse, he wasn't old enough to even have a gun. This man had a straw man's gun, had a straw man purchase of a gun, and he didn't get not one thing done to him. So yeah, just because he's convicted don't mean for them they're not trying to arm their people.
It reminds us how difficult it is to be a law enforcement agent, law enforcement officer, in this case a deputy. He was responding to a domestic relations call. Those, sadly, many times are the most dangerous calls that an officer can make.
Governor DeWine offering his thoughts and prayers to Deputy Scherer's family and also ordering flags across the state to be flown at half staff.
That is another great question, Casey Malone, my brother. Where's the Attorney General's guy who was talking about Rodney Hinton's money from Give, Send, Go? I don't, and matter of fact, the guy wasn't even from the state. He wasn't prosecuting the crime, but he came out of nowhere talking about they should be doing A, B, and C. That is a great question, my family. And salute to our brother DSB for gifting the membership. I appreciate you, and your contribution is blessed tenfold, family. What did it say here? Okay. I got things popping up on my screen, family. I apologize. Let's continue.
Bucyrus police said, "We see tragic news like this far too often, but when it happens too close to home, the pain hits differently." Sunbury police say they stand by the Morrow County Sheriff's Office and are praying the deputy's service and sacrifice is never forgotten. The heart.
Salute and shalom to our family. Kira Clark, thank you for being here, family. I appreciate you for being here.
Village Police Department says this.
And salute to DSB once again for gifting another membership. I appreciate you, family. Your donation is blessed tenfold.
This is the most dangerous type of call officers face. Our prayers go to the family and coworkers of the deputy. From the Franklin County Sheriff's Office, please join us in praying for the Morrow County Sheriff's deputy who was killed in the line of duty. We extend our deepest condolences to the deputy's family, friends, and the entire Morrow County Sheriff's Office. From Licking County, our hearts are heavy today. From all of us here at the Licking County Sheriff's Office, we extend our deepest condolences to the deputy's family, co-workers, and the entire Morrow County community.
Shalom and salute to I and Will. Thank you for being here, family. I appreciate you.
And from Ohio Attorney General Dave Yost, my heart is torn by the loss of yet another Ohio law enforcement officer who paid the ultimate sacrifice while protecting his community. We are forever indebted to those who lay down their lives for others. Terry Sullivan, ABC 6 News.
In this case, a deputy.
All right, family. Now, this is the fourth segment. It took 3 segments for them to even mention the dude. Let's see what the 4th segment holds.
He was responding to a domestic relations call. Those, sadly, many times are the most dangerous calls that an officer can make. And we just have to.
This is the second time a law enforcement officer has been killed in the line of duty in Morrow County. The last time was back in 1940. First responders are constantly going through new training to respond to a domestic violence call.
It's one of the most common calls, but as you heard the governor say, it's also some of the most dangerous. Tonight, Steve Levine is looking to find the steps that are taken to try to keep first responders safe.
Our cameras were there in February as Franklin County Sheriff's SWAT officers responded to this domestic situation in Groveport.
The domestic violence call is the most dangerous call that our officers are dispatched to.
Domestic violence among the most common calls law enforcement respond to on a daily basis. Last year, according to a BCI report, law enforcement across Franklin County responded to 8,437 domestic violence calls that resulted in 3,025 domestic violence charges and 438 other charges. No charges were filed in 4,974 cases.
Oftentimes our officers are going in and blind, only knowing that it's a domestic violence situation. That's why we mandate all domestic violence runs be 2 deputy runs.
With a recent uptick in DV cases, how to handle domestic violence now more critical than ever. Besides the state-required training, the Franklin County Sheriff's Office goes beyond what is mandated.
Family, hold up. Look at that picture right there, family. Look at that picture. Does that not tell you all you need to know about that department? Does that not tell you all you need to know about that department? All of them got the goddamn same haircut, same buzz cut, with the exception of one. They all out here looking like a bunch of white supremacists. Tell me that that's not what's happening.
required training, the Franklin County Sheriff's Office goes beyond what is mandated, including de-escalation training, in-service training, scenario and role-playing exercises.
We're in a better off position, trained these days than we were 20 years ago. The problem in the community with domestic violence was still the same. It has risen year over year pretty much.
Columbus Police did not have anyone to talk with us on camera, but tell us CPD annual DV training is for all sworn personnel and includes 80 hours of in-service training for officers. This year, an additional 2 hours of DV training will be added, and a domestic response class for patrol officers is now in development. The Columbus Fire Department also training to handle domestic violence calls.
Unfortunately, we can't train for everything. We can't script everything, but that's why it's so important that we make sure we're sending the right resources to the right calls at the right time.
Tragedies like what happened Monday night, a reminder. The need is there to always be prepared.
There's no textbook domestic violence run that you go to, which probably also lends a little bit to the reason why they're so dangerous.
On your side, Steve Levine, ABC 6 News.
All right, family. So we done got through the 4 segments, and y'all seen how much that man was mentioned. How much that man was mentioned. Is shalom and salute to our brother DSB. I appreciate your cash app. Says when they say domestic, they mean black people. Always pay attention to the slick words they use. Absolutely. Absolutely. They find a way to dog whistle. That's basically what it is. In the same way that when they say woke, it's all a dog whistle. Now, the number one people who participate in the DV, they're folks. Number one people that participate in unaliving people, they're folks. However, when they shorten some things, 9 times out of the 10, they're not talking about them folks. So a lot of the times when they say domestic, like my brother said, yeah, they're meaning black folk. Now, if they say domestic violence, they know to, address it with kid gloves, because 9 times out of the 10, it could be one of their own. Family. Also, shalom and salute to our sister Black Spider. Thank you for your Cash App donation, family. I appreciate you, and your contribution is also blessed tenfold. I appreciate the both of you. Thank you very much. So now we can go here, family. Now we can go here. Remember, I was telling y'all how they was omitting a segment, a piece of information. Now, y'all remember the big back woman who was reporting, right? Right. Okay. So this will show you that it is from the same clip. They just clipped this part out. So, got to give a shout out to our brother. I call out racism, white supremacy, and PDF files. 1 second. Let me remove this real quick. My fault. Okay. So shout out to our brother. I expose racism and pedos. Let me go back here real quick. There we go. All right. Let's go here, family. This will show you the part that they completely omitted.
Fighting back tears while talking about the deputy and the man that Daniel Shearer was.
Yeah, absolutely. He did.
Now, notice, family, all the same reporters, all in the same report. Why did they have to omit this part out? I'm about to show you the part that's very egregious.
Talk about the man that Daniel Shearer was, but he would not talk about the man that the suspect is. But Daniel Shearer was, but he would not talk about the man that the suspect is. Daniel Shearer was, but he would not talk about the man that the suspect is. But as this story continues to develop, we've been learning new information all morning long, and we've just gotten new information, court documents confirming information about the suspect in this case, the man accused of killing Deputy Shearer. Court Court documents confirm 53-year-old Brian Wilson is charged with aggravated murder after the shootout last night that killed Shearer. According to an affidavit, Shearer's body-worn camera shows that the deputy approached Wilson at a home near Marengo last night, responding to a domestic violence call, trying to talk to Wilson and de-escalate the situation. Now, Wilson had reportedly told a witness earlier, if I was to die tonight, I'd be okay with it. And as Shearer approached, Wilson threatened the deputy that I will
He does, don't he? He looks like the suspect a bit. Better not get caught in the dark alley. I'm just saying.
Would have kill you, and warned the deputy to go away if you want your family to see you tomorrow. Now, earlier, Sheriff John Hinton was emotional as he revealed to the media the identity of the deputy who was killed. But again, he wouldn't say much about the name of the suspect.
You will never hear his name come from my lips. So if you want the name, you will have to get it some other way. Hear his name come from my lips.
About the name of the suspect.
You will never hear his name come from my lips. So if you want the name, you will have to get it some other way. I'm not giving it to you.
Why is that?
Why would I? Why am I going to even mention his name?
You would mention
what?
You would mention our names. You would mention a black person's name with no problem. You would mention a black person's name with no problem. Y'all put out Rodney Hinton's name with no problem. Y'all didn't think about him being a grieving father. Y'all didn't think about nothing. All y'all did was said this black man by the name of Rodney Hinton killed or unalived an off-duty police officer because he was upset that his son was unalived. But yet this person sits here and try to say, I will never say this person's name. I would never, if you want to learn his name, you got to find out from somewhere else. When the reporter asks him the follow-up question is, why is that? You can tell he really didn't have an answer for it, but it was just a protective mechanism.
From my lips. So if you want,
I want to make sure we get that in the hole.
You will never hear his name come from my lips. So if you want the name, you will have to get it some other way. I'm not giving it to you.
Why is that?
Why would I? Why am I going to even mention his name?
Exactly, MD Williams. It's because it's your job, punk. It is your job. Whenever you're speaking about, and we've been seeing this happen with black men, black women, and black children. Whenever it has something to do with us, they will release names, even though you're not supposed to be releasing the names of children. They will release the name of black children all the damn time. They will release the names of black children all the time. They do the same thing for black adults. But what we're seeing is when it comes to the Nabisco, they jump right on code. Whether it's this man here, who he was trying to withhold his name, whether it was Daniel Penny, whether it's the police officer who unalived Ryan Hinton, they tried to protect their own. He's acting as if giving the suspect's information, the suspect's name, is just despicable. You won't see me saying his name. Why wouldn't you do that? Well, why would I? He really don't have an answer. But the fact of the matter is, just like MD just said so elegantly, it's your job, punk.
Not going to do it. So doesn't deserve it.
Now, as for the deputy, the sheriff tells us he was 31 years old. He leaves behind his mother and father, and that this was his first law enforcement job. Sheriff Hinton says his deputy always had a smile on his face, was a great guy, and says that he will be missed. Now, this is only the second death in the line of duty for a sheriff's deputy here in Morrow County. The last one came in 1940. And then behind me, you can also see a cruiser, a sheriff's department cruiser. It's decorated there. It's got the tape across the windshield and also across the sheriff's star on the side of the door there to commemorate and to memorialize Deputy Shearer. More coming up on this story as it continues to develop. We're going to have more in about a half an hour, but for now, live on your side in Mount Gilead, I'm Tom Bosco. We're going to head over to Kirsten Lindquist, who's in Mount Gilead, talking to folks and hearing more about the deputy and how this is affecting them.
Yes.
So, family, that was a segment that was cut out. I can continue. I'm going to continue to play this just so you can see. But that was the segment that I felt they only cut out because the officer said what he said in the manner in which he said it. And he didn't say it as if, you know what I'm saying, he was tortured by saying the person's name. He just said, why would I? You would never hear that from me. And you cannot tell me people have committed crimes in your county, and you went to a press conference and talked about the crime while stating you're not going to talk about the person, the assailant. You're not going to give the information about the assailant. I've never seen that. Not to my knowledge. I believe the suspect is still living. I don't believe that he was unalive because it would have been a part of the story. And plus, the way that they're talking is if they got him. Yeah. They're pretty calm, ain't they? They're pretty calm right now. And if it was, somebody like Rodney who did this to him, everybody be losing their shit. The sky would be falling. Chicken Little be running around. How long before they put them back onto the street? That's another great question. Another great question, because we know they do that often. I also wonder if he was even given a bail. Or did they let him go on his own regardless? Because that happens a lot too. They will OR a white person and then give somebody like Rodney Hinton, they'll give him $100 million or no bail. Exactly. Where is his bond prospects? Will they all be huddled in the courtroom and intimidate him like they did Rodney Hinton? That's my question as well. That's my first question. Since now we have a one-to-one comparison, this is a one-to-one. Actually, it isn't a one-to-one comparison because at least Rodney Hinton had an actual reason due to temporary insanity and break of psychosis. The break of reality, the break of his psyche. What is this man's excuse? He probably was given bail, then tried his case in another crime. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm keeping my eye on this because, I want to know. I want to know the outcome. I want to know the mid-bridge. I want to know all of it. That's why they will be their own downfall. They will continue to off each other and won't hold their own accountable. Hey, you know what? I'm gonna be honest with you. That'd be a lovely day, lovely day, lovely day, lovely day. Oh yeah, next he'll claim he's suicidal. Absolutely. Or mentally challenged. There we go. Will his lawyer claim white mental illness? with the felonious record. Yep. But like I said, see, y'all jumped ahead of me. A lot of y'all jumped ahead of me on some things. Things. Now we got to go over here. So one of my friends sent me a text, and he sent me a story through a text, and he told me, he was like, "Hey man, did you see this story about the two kids in Florida, the middle school kids who was basically trying to put together a Columbine mass unaliving?" And I was like, "Nah, man, send me that story." He was like, "Man, I just heard about it from my homegirl who lives in Florida." And when I went to go look for the story, you wouldn't believe it, but you probably would believe it. There were multitudes of the same damn story. The one he was telling me about apparently took place in 2021. But in the middle of looking for that story, I found several stories that fit the profile. So let's go to the original story I was trying to share with you guys first. And then we'll move along to the next ones. Peep this out, family.
This morning, police near Fort Myers, Florida, say they've foiled a mass shooting plot at this middle school.
This could have turned disastrous. We are 1 second away from a Columbine here.
13 and 14-year-old boys arrested after police say another student told a teacher one of the teens had a gun. Authorities say no gun was found, but they did find a map with locations of all the school security cameras. And they say search warrants at the boys' homes turned up a gun and several knives. Investigators say the kids had been studying the Columbine massacre. Meanwhile, in North Carolina, police say this disturbing video shows high schoolers shooting more than 150 bullets into a home in Charlotte. Inside, 3-year-old Asaya Figueroa was killed while he was sleeping. His 5-year-old sister grazed by a bullet. The suspects on the run. Police say the violence stems from a feud between local students, one of 6 recent shootings.
How can you wake up this morning knowing that your actions last night took the life of a 3-year-old who will never get the opportunity to grow up and play and have fun?
And not far away, a Salem, North Carolina high school was placed on lockdown last week after a student was accused of shooting and killing another student. As for that foiled plot in Florida, police say the boys will be evaluated at a mental health facility and charged with conspiracy to commit a mass shooting.
Y'all get that, family? It was being called out before we even got there. Why is it that all of these kids get the benefit of the doubt of mental illness? That's exactly what every single time. Whenever you hear mental illness, you know it's a white kid. You know it's a Nabisco. Do y'all want to see the pictures of the Nabiscos? The 2 little mini thugs? Would you like to see them, family? Please let me know in the chat. Put a 1 in the chat if you would like to see the mini thugs, and put a 2 in the chat if you would rather not see the mini thugs. And I would understand if you'd rather not. You know, the look on their faces tend to look like, Freddy Cougar in his prime. But okay, y'all want to see the little mini thugs. All right. So let's get them up here. These are your little mini thugs who tried to put together a Columbine style mass unaliving. Salute the Gamers Den. Thank you for being here, family. Now, y'all tell me what these mini thugs look like to you. These mini Neanderthals. Baby incels. Absolutely. Yeah, Miss Niecy, these are this one to the right over here looked like a grown man. The one to the left looked like he is psychotic. Chucky and Michael Myers. Absolutely. The one on the right absolutely looked like he is a child of inbreeding. I will give you that all day. No, they were not the same ones playing with the guns like Tamir Rice. Those kids were, I believe it was 7 and 9. These are middle school kids. These are 14 and 13. These two are. The Scooter is Scooter and Cooter. Oh, Jesus. So these are the ones from Florida, okay? And while I was looking through it, as I told you, oh yeah, recessive genes activate. Real stuff. Salute to the ears that hear the truth. Thank you for your Cash App donation. I appreciate you, and your contribution is blessed tenfold. Thank you, family. Great question. Where are their fathers? Their father's probably right there in the home, because they don't tend to be paying attention. They tend not to care when things like this happen. They tend to actually purchase those type of weapons for their children. Yeah. In the interest of what they call hunting. Oh, bet they won't be charged as adults, but they probably should. They should 100% be charged as adults. And that goes back to our brother Carmelo. They're trying to charge him as an adult. They have to wait until they go through the proper legal processes. However, they already have it in their mind that that's what they want to do. But with these type of kids, I guarantee you that might not be the case. Little inbred demons. Yep. Mm-hmm. Why the one on the right looks like a whole 40-year-old man? That's my point. That dude looked like a straight grown man. This nigga been paying bills, excuse my French, but he been paying bills since he came out the womb. Oh, shoot. Father is also a grandparent. Daddy is uncle. That reminds me of that TV show Nails. They call him Uncle Daddy. Their mother and father is their aunt and uncle. I believe it. They'll give them juvenile life so they can be released by 21. Yeah, I see that. I can see that. Fathers may not be human males. Oh, shoot. Hold up. Hold up for that one. Hold up. Damn! Oh, yes. That right there. Little degenerate Peckerwoods. Exactly. Drinking Mountain Dew will do that to you. Oh, that reminds me of Talladega Nights. What's wrong with these kids? I'm all hyped up on Mountain Dew. Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah, Uncle Daddy. That's what they was calling that dude. Oh, snaps. Why is his head so? I look. Your guess is as good as mine, my brother. Salute and shout out to Still Kevin Trees. Thank you for being here, family. Your guess is just as good as mine. And that's probably the reason right there, because the parents are related, most likely. You know how they roll. Woof woof, nay nay. Exactly, exactly. And ow ow. Before they came out the caves, it was all ow, ow. howling at the moon and taking it from the moon howlers. Children of crack corn. The crack corn. Oh, hell no. Children of the meth. Oh, man. Dylan Roof and Matt Damon lookalikes. Oh, my God. Y'all is going in. Ramos and Ray. Y'all got it. Y'all got it. All right, family. I want to go here because you would think I was looking for a whole different story. I'm looking for this one story brought up all these different ones. So let's go here. Uh-oh. Oh, we are here. All right, cool. Let me pull this down. Put this back up. There's 2 studios in Polio Park Middle School.
First tonight at 11, 2 middle school students arrested and facing felony charges. They're accused of making a threat. Many of you reached out to us about this, and our Michael Hoffman is trying to get answers. He joins us with what we know about the arrests connected to Polo Park Middle School.
We received multiple calls from parents with concerns about potential threats against a teacher. Searching for answers, we reached out to the district, trying to get to the bottom of it. Tonight, the district shares a letter sent to parents and staff by the school's principal, Dr. Jennifer Galindo, saying in part, quote, following an investigation by law enforcement, 2 students suspected of exchanging threatening messages about an individual on our campus have been arrested. Thankfully, there is no credible or ongoing threat to the safety of our students, staff, or school. The letter goes on to say the students will be facing criminal charges along with disciplinary action that could result in expulsion in accordance with the Student Code of Conduct. In Florida, it is a second-degree felony, regardless of whether the threat is made in writing, online, or as a joke. It also encourages parents to, quote, talk with your children about the serious responsibilities that come with using phones and social media. A single poor decision or impulsive decision can lead to life-altering consequences, end quote. We asked the district for more information on what threats were made or if weapons were involved. The district declined to comment further due to the nature of the investigation. Reporting in Wellington, I'm Michael Hoffman.
All right, that's 2. Then I found this one.
Students tonight on the Treasure Coast. Well, 2 middle school students tonight on the Treasure Coast are facing felony charges for bringing weapons to school.
WPTV's Mellow Styles spoke with parents about concerns for student safety.
2 students at Hidden Oaks Middle School are facing charges after they brought weapons to school. The sheriffs tell me that these weapons were found after they made threats. The sheriff's office says this weapon was found on a 12-year-old last Wednesday. According to the sheriff's staff at the school were alerted to email threats prior to the weapon being discovered. In a second incident, the sheriff says a 14-year-old student brought a handmade shank to school. The sheriff says other students told investigators the student had previously made threats towards them. Both students.
Hold the phones, family. Hold the damn phones.
Second incident.
Look at this, family. Look at this. Since when does middle schoolers know how to make shanks? And not just know how to make shanks, but know how to make them so exquisitely. That's one of the most exquisite shanks I've ever seen. For what? And let me ask this question. Why not just take a damn knife? Why are you taking a shank? A shank is literally used in prison. You're out of prison. There are different things that you can readily use as weapons. I wonder why he had a shank. Could it be that maybe a parent made it for him? Maybe a parent had it when they got out of jail and took it with them for some strange reason, for memorabilia or something like that. Oh yeah, me and Kim, that's another great point. Maybe he's foreshadowing. I've never seen somebody outside of jail make a shank outside of jail. Now, I've known a lot of people to go to jail. I've been to jail myself. I didn't go to prison. I've been to jail, you know what I'm saying? And so I've seen all the things that people would make shanks out of. They make them out of toothbrushes. They make them out of plastic wrap in toothbrushes. They make it out of all these kind of things. They get real creative. A spork, if you're able to get a spork in there, you're gonna get sporked. This is an intricate shank. If you were in jail and you was trying to purchase a shank from somebody, this would be the most expensive one. This will be the most expensive one. So my question is, who the hell told them to make a damn shank? Or who gave him the shank if he didn't make it? Get that man dental floss. And you already know. That shank may be made from the bone instead of steel. That would defeat a metal detector. You know what? That is a great point. That is a great point. That is a great point. That's probably why they didn't just take a regular knife. If they have any metal detectors at the school, bone won't be it won't set off the metal detector. That's a great point. I didn't even think about that. I saw this one fella bring his 3 kids under 10 to the range to practice. Oh yeah. I see that all the time. Anytime I go to the range, I see kids in there, and I'm already on it. I already see. I posted a video of this one girl at the range one day, and TikTok removed it, saying that it's extra violent. Although they have videos of themselves on there doing the same thing. But yeah, they definitely be doing that. A generational shank, passing that shank down from person to person, father to son. You know, when I was locked up, you know, we didn't take much stuff. And I had this shank right here. This was my favorite shank. It cost me 2 butt cheeks to get this shank. And now I'm passing it on to you. And one day, I might come for your butt cheeks. That's what I believe happened. I don't know. But yeah, CPS would definitely be called on us. They would definitely be called on us. Let's continue here.
The sheriff says a 14-year-old student brought a handmade shank to school. The sheriff says other students told investigators the student had previously made threats towards them. Both students were arrested and charged with possession of a weapon on campus.
The only place I see or we've seen these shanks is in the prison system, the jail systems.
Didn't I just say that, family? Didn't I just say that? The only place they see these shanks is within the prison system. So somebody who was in the prison system made that shank for him. If he didn't make it for himself, I'm pretty sure someone made it for him. Let's keep it 100. Salute to Jeremy. Thank you for your Cashapp family. Your donation is blessed tenfold. You got a message here, brother? Thank you for keeping us informed. I appreciate you, family, and thank you for being here to be informed. Yeah, somebody that made that for him. Somebody that made that for him. And then look, he said they were watching the show Oz. If they were watching Oz, they must have been watching meticulously, because they even got every detail of that shank 100-fold. The details of the shank is too good for them to miss anything in that damn show, if that's where they got it from. A Big Brother Jet. Oh, or another, that's a good one too. Or Prison Break. That's another good one too. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. All right, let's let this continue.
Being that kids are able to bring these types of things to the school, worried my son comes here.
and hopefully they're doing something about it.
The Martin School District tells me that parents were alerted about both situations. The sheriff also told me that it's up to a state's attorney's office if these two students will be charged as adults. Reporting.
You hear that? It's up to a state attorney's office if these two children will be charged as adults. Now, we know these children are Nabiscos because if it was Black children, the story would say the community has been calling for these children to be charged as adults. If they were Black, we would have already known that it was them. This brother here, I don't know what it is about this brother, but the way he, his demeanor, the way he looks, it just reminds me of somebody. I cannot put my finger on it, but God dang it, he reminds me of somebody.
We charged as adults. Reporting in Martin County, Mellow Styles.
All right, that's that one. Family, when I said there's an abundance of these clips, we could be here all damn day. But luckily, I only pulled a few clips because I didn't want to keep you too much longer.
Back to a story that's gaining national attention this morning. 2 teenage girls are in custody accused of planning a terror attack against Memorial High School.
FBI Houston and Spring Branch ISD confirmed.
That is another wonderful point that you just made, AO. Salute to you. They wouldn't even say children. They would say DeAndre Jenkins and DeMonte Jones. Oh, man. No, you're absolutely correct. They would say the children's names. They wouldn't even say 2 middle school teens, 2 high school girls, 2 ambiguous women. They expose our children. Absolutely, my brother. And they would drop the pictures of them. Absolutely. From a single mother home. Exactly. Father, we couldn't get in contact with the father. The father's nowhere to be found. But the mother said that this isn't the type of child that her son is. I'm glad to see family values installed in these little degenerates. That is their family value, huh? I feel that 100-fold. Yeah, their code is absolutely real. Yeah, they'll go all the way out there. The father, the known father, was incarcerated for murder about a year ago. And ever since then, Lil John Quavius has been acting out in certain situations. This isn't the first time the police said they have to run up on Lil John Quavius. Guaranteed. Let's go here.
Back to a story that's gaining national attention this morning. 2 teenage girls are in custody accused of planning a terror attack against Memorial High School.
FBI Houston and Spring Branch ISD confirmed these reports late last night. Our Devon Rahming joins us live outside Memorial High School this morning. So, Devon, how were investigators able to make an arrest in this case?
Stephen Reka, good morning. According to investigators with the FBI Houston's office, they tell us these teenagers were making their plans on social media and that they were deemed rather credible and very detailed, according to the Spring Branch ISD Police Department. Now, those threats allegedly involved 2 teenage girls planning a mass casualty attack involving the use of pipe bombs and plans to shoot students at Memorial High School. Investigators tell us a 16-year-old was identified as a Memorial High School student. She was arrested and charged with making a terroristic threat. The other teenage girl involved is 15 years old and is a student in Willis ISD. Now, here's the thing about her. She's currently being held in Montgomery County on unrelated charges, but is accused of taking part in the plot against Memorial High School. Right now, it's unclear if the 15-year-old in this case will be charged. Meanwhile, officials here at Memorial High School say that they have increased security to ensure safety here on campus for students and staff that will be returning to school here this morning. We are also working to find out if the two teens involved will be facing a judge anytime in the coming days. Once we learn that, of course, we'll be sure to bring you the latest updates. Live in Memorial, Devon Rahman, KHOU 11 News.
When a reporter said they want to charge them as adults, they normally only do that for black kids. That's why I assumed they were black. No, I get what you the assumption was, but the fact of the matter is they usually say that because of the fact that they really don't want them to be charged as adults. Whenever they say it'll be up to X, Y, and Z, that means that they really don't want them to be charged. When it's black children, like with the whole situation of Carmelo, the reporting stated the community is calling for him to be charged as an adult and to face a death penalty. So I notice a lot when it comes to how they actually speak on this. Now, sometimes they may toss it in there too for white children where they say the same thing. Well, not the same thing. They'll never say that the community is calling for a white child to be lynched. They'll only say that for black people. But when they say, you know, it'll be up to the attorney general, my eyebrows automatically raises. Because in Texas, when they was talking about Carmelo, they didn't even say that. They said it'll be up to a grand jury to decide whether this will be going forward. Right? So they play little games with the words. That's the thing they love to do. They play games with the words. Oh yeah, Law and Order is based on real life, and the majority of that show is folks that aren't FBA. You are absolutely correct. And that was one of the things that Dick Wolf, he's very good at translating real situations that happen into TV entertainment. He did the same thing with that show that he had, New York Undercover. New York Undercover was a fantastic show because it was relatable, and he just knew how to take those stories and make them into good entertainment, as well as try to make sure it touched certain heartstrings. And that's why I think that he did SVU, because SVU is way easier and there was way more stories being brought to him, because originally it was Criminal Intent. But the SVU, well, originally it was just Law and Order, then it went Law and Order, Criminal Intent, and then it went to SVU. More people started coming to him about their story and their experiences being raped or being pedophiled. You dig what I'm saying? So Dick Wolf, when I say that man, and I don't give a lot of praise to white folks at all, but when I say that he's good at what he does when it comes to adapting stories into his show, Dick Wolf, he's one of the best I've seen do that, who isn't black. Let's be very clear about that. But that was a great point right there. A great point. Oh yeah, they usually show our kids names and faces already. You're absolutely correct on that too. Let's go to this next clip here, because we're almost done here, family. And I know Jason is going to be on the hot second if he's not already on. So let's finish this up. This right here happened in California.
The two teenagers in Northern California are under arrest, and an online gamer in Tennessee is being hailed a hero after alerting authorities about a plot to shoot up a middle school.
Sheriff's deputies say the threat was stopped after the teen became concerned during a chat where one of the suspects shared details, including a reference to the Columbine High School shooting. ABC's Melissa Don has the story.
Two teenagers are now behind bars after sheriff's deputies alleged they were planning a mass school shooting targeting a middle school in Cottonwood, California, north of Sacramento.
Miss Nisi, you are 100% correct. The first 4 seasons were to die for. They were so good. And then after they killed off Eddie's character, that was it. I don't even think they saw season 6 because that they killed them off. I think it was like the beginning of season 5? And then they ended up ending the damn show. They didn't even get another season after that. So yeah, you're absolutely correct, man. They messed up on that one.
The teens caught after police say on May 9th, a teenager in Tennessee reported alarming threats they found during an online gaming chat.
The optimistic ending to what could have been a catastrophic event.
The Tehama County Sheriff's Department says the 2 suspects, ages 14 and 15, allegedly wrote a statement for the deadly attack where they planned to kill up to 100 people, had plans.
Shout out to FBA Queen. No, you're absolutely right. My innocent search turned into a baby incel bonanza. Like there were so many more I could have added to this. I only put 5, but there were so many more. All of these are recent. The first one was in 2021. All these other ones were like a month ago, last 7 days ago, a couple weeks ago. Like it's all recent. So yeah, it literally turned into a baby incel bonanza. I'll give you that.
To murder one set of their parents before the attacks and sent photographs mirroring the Columbine shooting.
Because one young teenager saw something that he didn't think was right and said something and reported it. And then our staff took it seriously and we investigated it thoroughly.
Tehama County Sheriff Dave Kane calling the Teens Act courageous.
I expressed how proud I was of his heroic courage to step forward and say the things that he heard.
The suspects are facing several charges, including suspicion of making criminal threats and possession of a destructive device. Authorities are looking into the teens' motives and say one of the suspects spoke about bullying when interviewed by investigators.
They said it. They said it. One of the interviewers spoke about bullying. Bullying. So we got mental illness and bullying.
The teen suspects are expected back in court next week, and prosecutors are looking into the possibility of charging them with conspiracy to commit mass murder. Melissa Adon, ABC News, Los Angeles.
So, family, with all of that, I got black fatigue. I got Mayo fatigue. I got all the fatigues with all that. With everything that they be sitting here trying to project onto us, their criminality is so on point with it. It is so in the spotlight. So in the spotlight. I don't give a damn what anybody got to say when it comes to the black community. Keep it. Your Charlie Kirks, your Lieutenant Governor Patrick's, keep it. Because the 15% of crime, 15% of the people doing 100% of the crime, or the 13% of the people committing 50% of the crime, the statistics shows the opposite, sirs. And you ain't talking to people who don't know nothing. You're talking to one of the most educated, one of the most gifted, one of the most ingenious groups on the planet. Period, point in black. So I'm glad to stand on that square. I'm glad to be able to have this information, and I'm glad to be able to give it to you as well. Not just you, but any one of those Mayo mutant munchers, those knuckle draggers straight out the caves, who wants to sit here and tell and propagate that lie as well. This is a new time, a new day, and a new life for the Mayos. It's a life of accountability. You don't have to hold each other accountable. We'll hold you accountable for you. With that being said, family, if you're not subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button along with the notification bell so you'll be notified whenever videos like this drop. Please make sure you're hitting that like and share button so we can beat up the algorithm. Make sure we get this message out to the ears that need to hear. And if you have not done so yet, click that link in the description. Go to change.org and put your signature on the petition for reparations. And with that being said, family, I want to play this last clip from Nabisco to Nabisco about the white Nabisco race. Let's go.
Okay, well, I'm going to say it. You can bar my live TikTok, but I'm just going to say it. Like I've said it many times before on this platform. Okay, the white race is a hate race. Its only purpose is violence and to kill diversity. That's all it is. It's only existed for 500 years, and its sole purpose is control. White culture is a different thing. White culture is us, Irish, Scottish, Italian, Greek, whatever. Yeah, that's our culture. I do believe white people have culture. We have lots and lots of culture. But the moment we call it the white race, we throw our culture away and become a part of a hate race. Now, TikTok, you can flag me and you can stop me from talking about this in every live that you want me to. Bar me for a week. I'll make a video about how the white race is a hate race. And anybody that wants to argue that is a dickhead. Straight up. And if you can't see it and you're going to come here and jump up and down about blah, blah, white people this and white people that, mate, if you want some pride, go back to your culture. Find where you come from. Find pride in your culture. Where are your indigenous roots from, mate? We all got indigenous roots somewhere, right? We all come from somewhere. I am just sick and tired of being fucking, constantly shut up because I want to talk about a topic that you people don't want to talk about, or think that I'm being hateful or spiteful or racist or whatever else you think, because it's not the case. I'm just trying to point out something that would heal the fucking planet. That is, if white people got off their fucking high horse of I'm superior because I have white skin and actually started to embrace their culture, maybe we could get rid of a bit of hate. Yeah, that's all I'm saying to the world.
What's his pronouns? I don't know. I do not know, family. That is a good question. But the point of the whole video here was to say that the white race is a hate race. So I don't want to hear nothing about crime stats when we know exactly what your race has done across this whole damn planet. Let alone just here in America. Let's be very clear about that. If you want to talk about the extermination of the Native Americans, I mean the real Native Americans and not the Mongoloid, then we could talk about that. Coming over here giving, what was it, SARS or scabies, something, what was on the blankets that they were passing out? I'm spacing. Regardless, chemical warfare, let's just put it there. Giving out chemical warfare blankets. Hell, smallpox. Thank you, my brother. Thank you and thank you. Smallpox, giving out smallpox to the indigenous Americans, giving FBA American / indigenous Americans syphilis without any type of treatment. Well, really just giving them syphilis. We know how these folks get down. So I don't want to hear nothing about criminality until you break down, analyze the criminality within your own damn community and your own people as a whole. But with that being said, family, I appreciate each and every one of you being here. I want to thank you once again to everybody who has donated. Your donations are blessed tenfold, and I really, truly appreciate your contributions. And I'd like to thank all of our members. I appreciate you and your donation and contribution is highly appreciated and blessed tenfold. With that being said, family, Jason Black is now on, I'm pretty sure. I'll meet you over there. And the doors of the church are now closed. Until tomorrow, family, make sure you're back here tomorrow for First Sunday. We got our good brother Beatzilla PDX coming through, and he's going to be setting it up and knocking it down. I can't wait. The doors of the church are now closed. Peace, family.
My grandfather built this country, man. He fought wars for it. And most places he went wouldn't let him sit down and get a cup of coffee. I can't even catch a cab in New York. You know, it doesn't matter how many degrees I get. All you people see is color. Your grandfather was an immigrant. You're American. My grandfather was born here, Duke. And you people still look at me as just another nigga.
I know that the government, whatever, can't stand us black people. He's doing everything in the world to make black man be extinct. But I'm going to tell you one thing. Us black people going to survive. So fuck everybody. I'm out.